right. Looks like we've got the YouTube going here on TikTok, and what I'm looking for this evening is folks who are 18 plus who have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in the God that they believe in. Yeah. So we'll see if we can have some good conversations. Hi, Oliver. How old are you?
24.
Do you believe in a God?
Yeah.
Okay. Which one do you believe in?
Well, there's only one, the one in the Bible. All the others are fake.
Okay. So you believe in the God of the Christian Bible?
Yeah.
Okay. What would you say is the best argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in God?
So, in scientifically, something can't come from nothing. Everything has a cause, and without a God, nothing would exist.
Okay. What's the actual argument?
Something can't come from nothing. There has to be a cause. Everything that begins has to have a cause.
Okay.
Is it-
I those. Okay. So
You're
what is the
depending off your
argument? So
water.
your argument should end, therefore God exists. So I
The
need something that
contingency
ends,
argument.
therefore God exists. Yeah. So give me the argument that ends with, therefore God exists.
All right. So you eat food and you drink water and you breathe oxygen. Oxygen, food, and water are dependent on something else. They're dependent on something else, and so on and so on. Eventually, that chain. Do you believe the chain ends, or do you believe it goes on forever?
That didn't end, therefore God exists. You're supposed to keep going until you end, therefore God exists.
Yeah. So that chain has to have a beginning. So therefore, God exists. There you have it. Done.
Okay. Why would the beginning of the chain have to be God?
Because at the beginning of the chain, there's nothing, so there can't be anything preceding it, and then
If the
something
beginning of the
can't come
chain
from
is
it.
nothing, then the beginning of the chain isn't God. So you're saying that there has to be something at the beginning of the chain that's God. So obviously it's not nothing at the beginning of the chain. So why would we think that God is the thing at the beginning of the chain?
Because God is the trigger to that chain
Yeah,
starting.
that's the claim. What's the evidence for that claim?
That something can't come from nothing. So therefore, there has to be a divine guiding hand.
No, no, that doesn't make any sense at all. Certainly doesn't follow. You're saying that if there's if there's an end to this ontological dependency or chain of ontological dependency, then the ultimate foundation of it has to be God. But that's just the claim. I'm asking for the evidence for that claim.
And I said the evidence is something can't come from nothing.
Yeah, I understand. I also don't think something can come from nothing, but that doesn't give anybody a reason to believe in God. So how do you get
All right,
from
so
there's a foundational thing at the grounding of this ontological chain, also something can't come from nothing. What's the other thing?
you
Because
want more evidence, don't you?
it's not that I want more evidence, I want some evidence because so far I haven't heard any.
All right, so obviously right. Everything's made of atoms, right? And atoms are particles. And for those particles to come into existence, they need a creator. They need something to spark its existence.
Yeah, that's the claim. You're supposed to be giving
And
evidence for the
going
claim,
back to
not
the
just
time,
restating the claim again. Do you understand the difference between making a claim and supporting a claim?
do you know what?
Do you understand the difference between making a claim and supporting the claim?
No. What's the difference?
Okay. Well, so making the claim is saying the thing that you think is true, and then supporting the claim is giving the reasons why you think that thing is true. So the support of the claim should only involve things that you and I both agree on, and your goal is to show how from things that you and I both agree on, we would have to arrive at your conclusion, and that my not arriving at the conclusion is an error that I've made.
Right, so can you and I both agree that living matter can't come from non living matter?
Of course, I don't agree with that, and you don't agree with that either.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so
So,
neither of us agrees with that. So why would you bring up something that neither of us agrees with? I told you to bring up things that we. Okay, so you just run away. Hey, monkey boy.
Yo,
We're starting strong tonight.
news. Oh yeah, yeah, of course. I mean, they always send their strongest to start. You know what I mean? It could only get worse from here.
Oh, if it does, I might have to stop early tonight. If it gets worse than that.
Bro, my PC is like damaged. It's doing like this power cycle thing, so I can't even stream until I fix that.
Weren't you streaming today?
Yeah, but it was like trash. The algorithm on mobile Just
Ah,
everything about the mobile is just bad, but the algorithm I barely got anyone.
sure. Yeah, I've never tried to stream from a phone or anything, so I don't really know.
Yes, it's trash.
That's unfortunate. Well, hopefully you can get your computer figured out. I'm running all this from a fucking laptop, so I'm trying to save up money to buy an actual desktop computer that I can use for this shit. But
Yeah, yeah.
someday.
Actually, I do have a laptop. Maybe I should try it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I had to um try really hard to find a reasonably priced one that could even possibly run a stream. Luckily, I figured one out, but it's probably going to be $1,000 or more to buy a decent computer. But hey, maybe we can have
Yeah.
some actual conversations. I was just about to bring you up, Dem, and then you dropped. You gotta have a little bit of patience. um, but yeah, so basically looking for folks who are 18 plus and have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a god. Um, Not really holding my breath that anybody will have anything good, but hey, maybe somebody will. Um, do you change up your prompt a lot, Monkey Boy, or do you just like? Because I know you change it sometimes, but it seems like um, it's just kind of rewording essentially the same thing. Or do you ever do like Christian specific lives or anything like that?
I have in the past, but for the most part, I just keep it the same now.
Yeah. I keep thinking about doing that, but then at the same time, it's like, okay, then you end up having the same conversation all night, and that gets pretty boring. But all right, well, maybe we can have a good conversation. Just a reminder, if you're in the guest queue or thinking about joining, make sure that you are 18 plus and that you have some kind of argument or evidence that will provide rational justification to believe in a God. Hi, Joe. How old are you?
I am 45 years old.
Oh, great. I'm not the oldest person here. That's nice. Um,
I'd
what?
also I'd mention there's absolutely no reason or purpose to validate anybody's belief in an existence of a extraterrestrial or interterrestrial God. It does absolutely nothing for the good of mankind to even
Okay,
contemplate
well,
what
I'm just
somebody
looking to
else
have
may or may
debates
not
with
be
people who
thinking.
do believe in God, so I'll probably just move on. All right.
Oh, I very much believe in God. I'm Christ
Okay.
centered, and
Well,
yeah,
if you agree that there's no evidence, there's no reason to believe in God, then I'm just
there's
not gonna
none,
ever.
and the
Yeah, I'm just
Bible
never
says
gonna
it
join you in
specifically.
your irrationality. So it's
Well,
not
the
worth having
Bible
the
says it
conversation. So
specifically.
I'm just gonna move on to another person who isn't, openly admitting that they're irrational. Typically, you hide that. You don't start with, "Hey, I'm an irrational person and I believe things without reason, and I think that you should join me." Like that's not a winning strategy.
I don't know. He was a little persuasive.
I'm so sorry. I guess maybe I was a little too fast. I love how when people don't like how the conversations go, they always go to two things. They go to the fact that I shave my head, and they go to the fact that I'm fat. Like, I know that I shave my head. I do it every day. I'm aware of it. I know that I'm fat. Also, I'm fat every day.
Yeah, I've heard that. Like people just come up and do that jab. Like not only is it like something you're like aware of, not to call you fat, but like if you could be like self aware of a feature of yourself, like okay. Like there's people who come on my live and they say my hair is massive, like I have a bird's nest, or people talk about the fact I have a gap in my between my two front teeth. It's like some cornball shit, bro. I swear.
Yeah, I've been in this body for 40 years. I'm pretty aware of its shortcomings. All right, maybe we could have a good conversation. Again, looking for folks who are 18 plus and have some kind of argument or evidence for God. Hi, Doxy. How old are you?
I am 52 years old. My birthday just happened. Yeah,
Well,
52.
happy birthday.
So now you're not the oldest one on the dais.
I know, right? Monkey Boy makes me feel
No.
old because he's just a baby. What?
Well, I'm young for my age. I like to think.
Hey, fair enough. What God do you believe in?
I believe in Jehovah God.
Okay, so I assume you mean the Christian version of God.
Yes, sir.
Fantastic. What would you say is the best argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in God?
I would say everything beautiful around us. Like, I would ask you, sir, what is your belief that there isn't a creator of all things?
Well,
How do you think we got here? How do you think butterflies and birds and dogs and every creation in the world?
Yeah, I get it. So two things. I have no idea how beauty is evidence for God. That seems to suggest that we wouldn't expect there to be any beauty if there wasn't a God, but I have no idea why anybody would think that would be the case. And then as far as why I don't believe, I mean, the simplest answer is just that there is no evidence, and obviously believing things for which there is no evidence is an irrational thing to do. I try not to have irrational beliefs, therefore I can't have a belief in God. You know, I would be against my principles. And then also, like, there are really good arguments to think that there can't be a God. Like all the, so many of the arguments for God are self-defeating, and even the ones that are considered the best evidence for God, the best arguments there are, tend to be self-defeating, like the fine-tuning argument or the moral argument or any number of other ones. And then also, like, it's just the traditional conception of a God, or at least in Western culture, is something that entails contradictions just by its very definition. So we could just say, just thinking about the thing's definition without even looking for any evidence, we could determine just by how it's described that it can't exist. It's like if I told you that I have a friend who's a bachelor and he got married last year, you're going to say, okay, well, the person you're describing to me doesn't exist because nobody can be married and a bachelor at the same time. You know what I mean? If I told you I had
he's married, he's not a bachelor.
No, I described my friend Jeff to you as someone who is currently a bachelor and married. You know that something about my description, that you know that my description can't actually line up with a real person. It can't correspond to a real person. Now, it's possible that there's really a friend Jeff that I have, and he's just either a bachelor or married, but you know for sure that the person I've described to you cannot possibly exist. So when people describe their God like that,
I don't understand. Please back up for me. And I, with all due respect, sir, thank you for having me on here. I just want to understand what you just said. You said your friend Jeff was a bachelor. He got married.
no, he is a bachelor and he is married.
Well, believe in Jehovah God or not.
Do you think that someone can be a bachelor and married at the same time?
No.
Yeah,
Why
I agree.
Do you believe that?
No, that's my point. If I told you about someone who was both a bachelor and married at the same time, you would know that I'm describing someone who doesn't actually exist. So when you describe, or anyone describes, a God as being, you know, this creator who brought the universe into existence and also is outside of time, or any of the other myriad different definitions or descriptions that are given of God, we can know for sure that that thing doesn't exist because the description describes something that isn't possible. It's logically impossible.
Okay, and with that, all due respect, we have different beliefs. I'm reading some of the comments.
Don't read the
Here's
comments.
thing.
Please just engage with me.
Okay, I'll do that, sir. Thank you. I was raised Jehovah's Witness. I'm a lesbian. I came out to my family when I was 23 years old. I've been with my wife for 34 years. I just feel a warmth in my heart knowing that there's a almighty God and a creator of all things.
Doxy, I could say I feel a warmth in my heart knowing that there is no God. So if you feel a warmth in your heart because there is one, and I feel a warmth in my heart because there isn't one, then we're just on a par, and we need something else that can help us determine which of us is correct. How do we determine which of us came to the correct conclusion based on the feeling in our heart?
How do you find the warmth in your heart in not believing, though?
Yeah,
it
doesn't make any sense to you in the same way it doesn't make any sense to me that you would find warmth in your heart thinking that a pedophile, genocidal maniac exists. Like, obviously, no one should be praising. No, your God is a pedophilic, genocidal maniac. Your God told armies to go to a neighboring area, kill all of the adults and all of the male children, and keep the girl children for themselves to split up as spoils of war. What do you think that all those
Okay.
soldiers were doing with the virgin girl children? What do
Okay,
you think
sweetie,
God was
we're
telling
going
them
to
to
end
do?
it right here. I'm going to land it right here. That is not the God I worship.
That is the God
That
of the
is-
Christian Bible. That's the God of the Christian religion.
No, it is.
Yes, it
Please
100%
educate
is.
yourself.
I have educated myself, and that's how I know this.
I do not mean any disrespect.
Okay, I
my
don't need
friend.
you to keep talking about how much respect you have when you're going to continue. Like, okay, Doxy, what I'm actually trying to do is engage in the substance here. You're supposed to be giving us some reason why we should think that God exists. You tried. I told you I don't think that that works, and here's why. You tried again. I'm telling you I don't think that that works, and here's why.
Okay, I'm
When
sorry
you're
for wasting your time.
okay, I mean, I guess that's one response. What I'm saying is your claim that the warmth in your heart is good reason to believe in God, I disagree with, because if I have warmth in my heart thinking of no God, that doesn't give me a reason to believe in no God, just like your warmth in your heart doesn't give you a reason to believe in God. We would both be on a par. So we would need some other information that would help us determine which of us is correct, because obviously the feelings in our hearts doesn't help us determine which of us is correct, because then we both have the exact same evidence for contradictory conclusions. So we must need some other evidence. What would be some evidence that we could point to, or some kind of argument that we could look at that would help us determine which of us is correct about the interpretation of the feeling in our heart?
I'm sorry. All I can go by is my faith.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you, trying to have a conversation. It doesn't sound like we're, have the same goals here, but I appreciate you, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Oof.
She started crying.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like to me. I'm so sorry that telling you things that are in your holy book made you feel that badly. That wasn't my intention. Yeah, Saintly, that made her cry, apparently. I'm happy for her, though. The fact that, she said, 30 years ago she came out as a lesbian, that must have been fucking crazy. That must have taken a lot of guts. So, I mean, I have respect, but obviously the religious stuff is nonsense. Anyway, if you are in the guest queue, or thinking about joining the guest queue, make sure that you're 18 plus and that you have some kind of argument or evidence that will provide rational justification to believe in a God. What do I even write? I don't really have much. Started crying. Fair enough.
You document the debates, or?
Oh yeah. That way, when I recognize a name, I can do a quick search and see what I talked to him about last. Because I can never remember, when I recognize a name, I can never remember if it was somebody that I want to talk to again, or if it was somebody who's just a piece of shit troll, Or
right.
some kind of Philbro or whatever. But, all right, let's see if Carrie has something for us.
Damn it, I was trying to buy a gift and the screen popped up. I'm trying to go back to the screen. Hi.
I didn't mean to mess things up. How old are you?
I'm 50. I was trying to get a Heart Me, and it keeps going in between my old card and my new card, and I'm having a problem.
Oh. Okay. Well, hopefully you can figure it out. What God do you believe in?
Jesus Christ.
Fair enough. And what would you say is the best argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in God?
Okay, I'm married to an atheist, and I've proved it to him, so I'm going to prove it to you. Okay? I'm not going to argue back and forth. I'm going to tell you my story.
No, I don't want a story. No stories. Just arguments or evidence.
It's what brought me to...
Okay, I don't really give a fuck. Okay? So if you want to tell a story, then you'll have to find somewhere else to tell it. If you want to have discussions about whether there's reason to believe in God, that won't involve any stories.
It's a reason to believe in God, 100%.
No, because there are obviously people with similar stories from every other spiritual tradition. So what we would need is not to hear the story. We would need to hear...
I can promise you that nobody has a story like this. I can guarantee
wow,
you.
great, fantastic, so compelling. What I'm trying to say is that we would need something other than the story. We would need the method that you can use to determine that your interpretation of your story is more right than some Muslim's interpretation of their story.
Okay. So Jesus walked on water is what we know.
Nope,
right?
I want the tool that you can use to determine who is properly interpreting their personal experiences. I don't want to hear anything about, right now we're not talking about what you believe in, In fact, right now, we're not even talking about why you believe in it. We're talking about how you go about determining that you're properly interpreting your personal experiences and that you can trust your interpretation of your personal experience more than other people with different beliefs can trust their interpretations of their personal experiences. So what's that tool?
Well, if I can't share it, I can't share it. If you don't let me
Yeah,
talk
I
to you,
don't give a fuck about the story. I care about the tool that we would use to determine if you've properly interpreted the story.
I'm not going by the Bible. I'm only telling you what happened.
Okay, are you listening to anything that I'm saying right now, Carrie?
Yes, and I really don't know what to tell you.
Okay, so what is it that I'm asking you for?
A tool.
Right, and what do I think? What am I saying that tool should do?
Prove.
No.
Why?
No. It should allow us to determine who is properly interpreting their personal experiences. So if I have a Muslim in front of me and you as a Christian and a Hindu and a Jew and somebody from a Native American religion or any number, like say I have those 5 different people in front of me, you and 4 other people, obviously at most only one of you can be right because they're all contradicting each other. So now that I know that only one of you at most can be correct, how do I go about determining if you've all got similar stories that lead you to believe in your particular religion or your, theological belief? How do I determine who I should trust and how to tell that the other ones I can't trust?
Well, it would be your own. It would be your own opinion, and
okay. Well, my opinion is that there's no God. So now, based on the tool that you said I should use, I already know that no matter what your story is, I'm not going to believe it because you told me to just use my opinion that I had before hearing the stories.
Okay. Well, you don't have to listen to me. Okay.
Is that all you've got?
Yeah. That's it.
Okay, fair enough. Have a good one. So, it's too much for him, apparently.
Yeah, so far we're not making no arguments.
Yeah, maybe James Dean will have a good one for us. If you're in the guest queue or thinking about joining, make sure you're an adult and that you have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide justification to believe in God.
I think I'm driving them away.
Hi, James. How old are you?
Hello, I'm 40.
Okay. Do you believe in a God?
No, I don't believe in God.
Okay.
But I have the tool. I'm going straight forward.
Yep. We're just going to talk to people who believe in God. Thanks. Hi, Johnny. How old are you?
36.
Cool. Do you believe in a God?
Yes, I understand that God exists, yes.
Okay. And which God do you believe in?
The one that you reject.
Well, I reject all of them. So which one is it that you believe in?
The one in the Holy Bible.
Is that the Christian Bible?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know why you Christians are so embarrassed that you can't just say that you're Christian, but whatever. Well, that's not true. I would be embarrassed if I was Christian too, so I guess I don't blame you. What would you say is the best argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God?
The fact that we can apply the scientific method to Genesis 1:7. The Genesis 1:7 is true. There's a physical barrier above Earth.
Okay, so you're just a flat earther?
I mean, if you can have this conversation, rather insulting or dropping me, you would understand that your belief in what you've been told growing up your whole life.
I can't take Flurf seriously. Not a chance.
You should grant him that there's a flat Earth.
Oh, yeah, probably. I don't know, man. As soon as if you are so far gone that you believe in a flat Earth, there's not going to be anything interesting that you have to say about anything else. Like, there's just not a chance.
We'll bring them up later. If there's other people, you could bring them up. But
yeah, well, I got a bunch of people requesting, so I just don't really want to bullshit around. Yeah, I'm so cooked because you believe in a firmament, Johnny. Good job. All right, if you're in the guest queue or thinking about joining, make sure that you are an adult and that you have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God. Hi, Moon. How old are you?
Hi, I'm 25.
Do you believe in a God?
I used to, but I was going to mention something actually real quick. Is that okay?
Well, I'm just looking to have debates with folks who believe in a God about whether or not their belief is justified. So if you don't currently believe in a God, it doesn't sound like maybe this probably isn't the place for you.
Oh, no, it's okay. No worries. I just wanted to say real quick before I actually go down is that I would also like add on the prompt behind like, no like personal experience. It's just a heads up. 'Cause I know I've been like listening to your panel
Sure.
for quite some time.
Yeah, fair enough. I used to always say that before I brought people up, but you know,
Yeah.
maybe somebody will have the tool someday. I don't know, but I appreciate you, Moon, and I hope that you have a good one. We'll go ahead and see if we can have a good debate here. I don't know what this name is. Well, maybe they're not even going to connect and it won't matter. Bueller? Fair enough. All right. Yeah, if you're in the guest queue or thinking about joining, make sure that you're 18 plus and that you have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide justification to believe in God and does not involve personal experience.
Wait, let me back up. I wasn't ready. Let me back up.
Fair enough.
At least he's prepping. I mean,
I guess. I don't know why you would request before you're ready, but whatever. Hi, Ed. How old are you?
Hey, unfortunately, I am 36, so
Well, you're still younger than me, so you're doing all right. Do you believe in a God?
I do.
Okay, and which God do you believe in?
The covenant-keeping triune God of the Old and New Testaments.
All right. What would be the best argument or evidence that would give us rational justification to believe God exists?
May I ask a question before I answer that? I want to know exactly what you mean by rational justification.
Sure. So rational just means something like reasons responsive or relating to reasons, and justification would be, I don't know how you would even want to describe justification. Just like something relevant that supports the belief, right? So like if I say, there are whatever, there's like if somebody's got a bag and they say what's in it, and I say there's 20 apples in there, I'm only justified if I actually have some evidence, some kind of something that gives me a reason to think. So rational justification would just mean being responsive to the reasons that you have to believe whatever it is that you believe.
With one of the physical senses, correct?
No.
No? Okay.
Now, certainly physical evidence is evidence, but not all
Right.
evidence is physical.
Okay, could you give me an example by which you mean that?
Okay, Ed, I'm just asking if you have some kind of argument or evidence for God. I don't really want to teach an epistemology course or anything. I'm not qualified anyway.
I mean, the study of how you know what you know is important. I just want to make sure I'm understanding you exactly. So.
Okay, I'm just asking if there's a reason to believe in a God. Is there a reason to believe in a God?
Yes.
Okay, and what is that reason?
I would say, first and foremost, the evidence of creation around you.
Okay, that's just saying that there's evidence, but I was asking what the evidence is.
Creation.
Okay, that just assumes that things were created. Why should we think that
Right.
the universe was created?
Why should we think that the universe is created? Because of the intricacy of the universe. I mean, for example, I love dogs. And I look at a dog and I think there's no way a dog could just happen, especially a golden retriever.
Yeah, so that just sounds like you're saying, I don't know how this came about, therefore I'm just going to assume the answer is God. But I could say, I don't know how the world came into existence, or I don't know how dogs came into existence, so I'm just going to assume that there was no God. So
Right.
again, we would just be, we can both make assumptions, but I'm asking if there's an actual reason, not just an assumption that you've made.
Right. So I think regardless of where we approach this, we're always going to have underlying assumptions even beyond our reasons, right?
Well, I disagree with you, but it sounds like maybe we're not trying to approach this from the same direction.
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming up, but I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next person. I hope you have a good one. So if you're in the guest queue or thinking about joining, make sure that you're 18 plus, that you have some kind of argument or evidence for God, and that it doesn't involve personal experience. And before I do bring up the next person, I just want to say thank you to everybody for the support. Susie, thank you so much for the Galaxy. That's fucking awesome. Thank you to KC for the Dragon Crown. I love those things. Thank you to Saintly, Bradley N, Lupine, Alan Gibson, Lem, World Greatest? Maybe that's what that says. I don't know. Bradley Cooper, Dan Blackroyd, Pay to Win, Y Quinn, Issa, fucking everybody. Jesus Christ, the Mean Bean, Goblin Brain. Okay, I'm not gonna read it. Fucking everybody. Jesus. Thank you everybody for the support. I appreciate it. Especially the big ones mean a lot, and they definitely make a difference. That's why I've been able to, try out new cameras, get new monitors, like I was talking about earlier, saving up for a better computer so I can do more. Your support definitely helps with that a ton. Also, thanks to the people liking, sharing. That helps a lot as well. So thank you guys. Okay. I'll stop glazing the chat and move on. I think I already said this, if you're in the guest queue, make sure you're an adult and you actually have an argument or evidence. Okay. Hi, Malcolm. How old are you?
25.
Okay. Do you believe in a God?
I believe in God. I don't believe in a God. I will say that. So I'm probably not the right person, but I believe God is real. I just don't believe in religious gods.
Yeah. So you do believe in a God.
I believe existence is God. I believe life is God.
Okay. I believe in existence. I believe in life. I don't believe in God. So obviously there must be something more to it if you're calling it a God, or are you just calling existence simpliciter God?
Well, I would just call it existence. Life is. I'll call it is, or whatever you want to call it, whatever name you want to give it.
Okay.
I just believe that.
Fair enough. So we're not going to get anywhere then.
Such a dumb practice. Like, why do people do that?
I don't understand it either. It makes zero sense to me. Like, if you believe in, I believe in the universe, man. If you believe in the universe, just fucking call it the universe. What do you want me to do?
God is life.
Like, I don't know. I'm getting to a point where there's so many of these views that I think are just like worthless and don't do anything. Like, I don't know. Like pantheism, I have become more and more frustrated with like the nothing burger that is pantheism. I don't know. It's all dumb. But hey, maybe the next person will have a good argument. And I mean, with a name like Holy Spirit Junkie, we can only assume it's going to be hardcore. Hi, Junkie. How old are you?
I'm 28.
Okay. Do you believe in a God?
Yes. I used to be an atheist and I found Jesus Christ.
Okay. Well, that's been a lie every time I've heard it before, so it's not starting off well for you. I assume you believe in the Christian God?
Yes.
Okay. And what would you say is the best argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God?
I'll give that, but I just want to ask a question, if that's okay.
Let's just go with for the argument.
All right. Well, if you look at the Shroud of Turin and also prophecy being fulfilled, that's evidence in itself.
Two different things. Which do you want to start with?
Prophecy being fulfilled.
Okay. So let's just say that there seem to have been prophecies fulfilled. Why would that give us reason to believe in a God?
It's evidence.
I mean, that's the claim.
It's not a claim. If I say I'm going to do something and it happens, isn't that existence of myself?
No, I mean, it could be a coincidence. It could
But something that specific is not a coincidence.
Well, it certainly could be.
If
Unlikely things happen all the time, so it could be a coincidence. That's a possibility. It could also be that things that seem to be prophecies were actually written after the thing they purport to prophesy actually happened. So then they wouldn't really be prophecies at all. Those kinds of things happen a lot. And then also another really great point that I heard my friend Monkey Boy mention before is that, unfortunately, if you're going to point to some specific miracle or prophecy or something like that is, expected under the existence of a specific God, but not expected under the existence of God simpliciter, then all you're doing is raising the amount of the God exists probability space your God takes up, but you're not doing anything to raise the probability of God existing itself, right? So if you were talking to another person who believed in a God, then maybe your prophecies would be good reason for them to believe in your God instead of some other God. But I don't believe in God at all. So what you would need to do is provide some reason to think that God exists in the first place.
I gave you a reason, but you don't want to believe it. You just collapsing yourself on top of your argument.
The reason is the shroud.
The prophecy being fulfilled.
The prophecy.
If I tell you tomorrow, if I tell you something specific tomorrow that, oh, okay, you're gonna drink pineapple juice tomorrow, isn't that existence in of myself? Even though I don't show you myself, I tell you that you're gonna drink.
The claim is that
pineapple juice tomorrow. I make a claim, and it happens. Then I'm telling you the power of myself.
Junkie, you need to calm down. If we're gonna have a conversation, you can't be the only one talking. Okay. Well, Monkey Boy was trying to discuss something with you.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, my bad, Monkey Boy. Go ahead. I didn't realize.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, right. Obviously, the fact he claims he's God is known, but whether or not the things he's doing is evidence for that is it's not really clear why that would be any evidence. And if the claim is that some evidence, we're interested in perhaps an argument supporting that.
Yeah, no, I understand what you mean. Honestly, like, obviously, if I say I'm God, then, like, it could be hard to believe that. But what I'm saying is, the words he's saying has become true over the many years after that. So that's what I'm saying. That's an evidence in itself that God exists.
Again, that's eating its evidence and not doing anything to show it.
But that's showing it.
If I said him doing prophecy is evidence for atheism, and I ask you to justify that, and I say him doing it is evidence in of itself. I mean, you haven't done anything to show how that's evidence for atheism. That's just a paradigmatic claim. What I could do is you can just make claims about something is reason for some conclusion, and then not like explicate how that's a reason. And then why would you expect the opposition to need to do more when that's all you're putting forward? Like, obviously you're not rendering a reason. You're stating something some reason, and then when asked to show how it's a reason, you're just saying, well, it's a sufficient reason, not showing how it's any reason.
I understand what you mean, but, like, when you make a claim and it becomes true, it doesn't become a claim anymore. It becomes a truth in itself.
Well, it's still a claim, of course.
So that's why.
Yeah, no, there's a difference, though, between saying, like, for example, let's say that I predict what the winning lottery numbers are going to be, and I also say that my favorite magical unicorn, Eunice, really exists. Now, if it turns out that I'm right about what the winning lottery numbers are going to be, does that also mean that Eunice, the universe-farting unicorn, is real?
I understand what you mean, but how many
I just want you to actually engage with the question that I asked you.
I am engaging with it.
Okay, so then answer the question.
I'm answering it. What I was saying is,
if you yes or no.
Yeah, so just give me the yes or no answer.
Okay, well, if you're just gonna say yes or no questions, and that's
okay, just give me the yes or no answer. If you're willing to engage, then you can engage by answering the question.
I'm not gonna give you a biased answer. Just
okay, no, I'm not asking you for a biased answer. I'm just asking you to answer the question.
If it's yes or no, then that limits my answer.
Yeah, because that's the type of question it is. When you're asked a yes or no question, the only answers that actually answer the question are yes or no. So what I'm asking you is whether or not me accurately predicting the winning lottery numbers, and if I also claim that Eunice, the universe-farting unicorn, exists in conjunction with my prediction about the winning lottery numbers, does me being right about the winning lottery numbers guarantee that Eunice actually exists? Yes or no?
Okay, if I answer your question,
here's the thing. Either the next thing out of your mouth, either the next thing out of your mouth is going to be an answer to the question, or it's a concession, and I'm moving on.
All right, I'll answer.
Okay, well, that wasn't a question. That wasn't an answer to the question. I'm done playing the games. Ugh. If you can't answer, if you're that scared of a question, such a simple question that you can't answer it, I'm just going to take that as a concession. Obviously, you know that the point ruins your argument, and you're just, you got too small balls to admit it. Or
I don't know what's with people constantly evading yes or no's.
I know. Or he knows that Eunice is real, and he doesn't want to admit it. I mean, I would much rather Eunice be real than...
I mean, the signs are there. I mean, it's reason in itself,
Well, I got the winning lottery numbers right, so obviously Eunice is real. And then when somebody asked me for evidence that I got the winning lottery numbers right, as well, I wrote it down. Ogar predicted the winning lottery numbers. Okay. The best part about it is I could genuinely write down yesterday's winning lottery numbers and then write last week's date on it. And that would be just as good as 90% of the prophecies that come true in the Bible. Whatever. If you're in the guest queue or thinking about joining, make sure that you're 18 plus and that you have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God. I think this is the person that didn't connect earlier.
Is his name El Pimus Begins?
Something. I don't know. He's changing his profile picture, but he's not connecting, so.
Yeah, he changed his PP.
Yeah. All right, well, we try it again. Brenna, over on the YouTube, calm down, please. Like, holy shit. I am not here to talk to the comments, and I'm sorry if that's offensive to you. It's not my intention to be an asshole, but I'm here to do debates. If you're not interested in just watching the debates and you only want to be here if I'm like directly talking to you throughout the stream, then this probably isn't the stream for you. Hate me if you want. That's fine. We'll see if Abdul has something for us. Hey, Abdul, how old are you?
I'm 71.
Okay, I'll consider that 18 plus. Do you believe in a God?
Yes, I believe in a God.
Okay, which God do you believe in?
I only believe in one God.
Yeah, which
in
one?
Arabic. In Arabic, they call him Allah.
Okay, so you're a Muslim?
Yes, I'm a Muslim.
Okay, fantastic. What would you say is the best argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God?
The easy argument is you and me. We are here where we come from. We came from a sperm, and that sperm carried everything of your whole life, what
No.
you will do.
No, that's not true. Right, because the sperm has to combine with an egg.
Yeah, but it
So the
goes,
sperm doesn't carry everything. The sperm only carries half of your genetics. And then obviously there are a
Yes.
lot more things than genetics that go into your life as well. So I'm not really seeing, any connection there. And then genuinely, like, you're saying that our existence or my existence or whatever is some evidence for God. So
Yes.
what seems to suggest that you wouldn't expect me to exist if there was no God. Why wouldn't we expect me to exist if there was no God?
well, there is a God there for your existing. And then another example is if you go to a tree.
I mean, I guess if you
And-
just assume the conclusion, then the conclusion follows.
No,
But I'm not willing to just, Abdul, I'm not willing to just assume that God exists. So what is the reason that I should think that I wouldn't exist if there wasn't a God?
I'll give you another example.
Yeah, I'm
If
just asking you to
go
answer the
a-
question, please, Abdul.
Yeah, this is the answer to the question.
Okay.
If you take a leaf from the tree,
No, I want you to just tell me why we wouldn't expect me to exist if there was no God.
why would I? Well, you will be there because God has decided
Right,
for
but
you to be here.
okay, so it doesn't sound like we're on the same page here. I'm asking for evidence for God. You said my existence is evidence for God, and I'm trying to
Yeah.
determine how my existence provides evidence for God.
That is your existing is God. If you are not here and when you die, that is the proof of God because
Okay, well, this isn't
when
going to
your
get me
time-
anywhere because, as far as I can tell, it's both true that I exist and that there is no God. So those things seem consistent to me. If you're saying that they're inconsistent, then you would have to demonstrate that. So we've been kind of
But-
going around in circles here. I'll ask one last time: how does this provide evidence for a God?
Well, the way we will never, none of us will be here without the will of God.
Okay, well, that's just the claim again. There's a big difference between making a claim and supporting a claim. So I'm just going to go ahead and move on, but I appreciate you doing your best, Abdul.
He pronounced Eunice weird. He's pronounced it God.
Yeah, I mean, we all know that the only reason we're here is Eunice. Duh. She ate that spicy hypotenuse, and she farted out the universe, and that's where math and logic come from. I don't think any other religion or any other belief system has such a clean, precise description for why math and logic work in this universe. It's obvious that it's because of the mathematical and logical properties of Eunice's fart from eating that spicy hypotenuse. I mean...
I just noticed you have a Saw shirt, bro. How did I just notice?
Oh, yeah, dude. I want to play...
Bro, the Saw...
I want to play a game.
You seen all of them or no?
Oh, yeah, definitely. In the theater. I've seen every single Saw movie and Saw-related movie in the theater.
I dropped after Jigsaw. I thought Jigsaw was bad.
Yeah, I hated Jigsaw, and then Spiral was like, I get what they were trying to do, but it just didn't get there for me. And then especially the ending, oh my god. And then
I heard it only got worse from Jigsaw.
Well, Saw 10 was fantastic, or Saw X, whatever. Absolutely fantastic. It felt like a total return to form, in my opinion.
Really?
Like,
I've actually heard this from a couple of people. I might skip Spiral and Jigsaw.
Yeah, you won't be missing much. I've heard a couple people say they like Jigsaw. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say they like Spiral. Now, if you told me that they were going to make a Saw movie with Chris Rock and Samuel L. Jackson, I would have been like, "Oh my god, they must know something. They must have something that's going to be awesome." And then it just turned out to be not awesome. I don't know if that was worth their Jigsaw, but yeah, Saw X, Saw 10, whatever it is, that was fantastic. Highly recommended. But all right, we'll resume our horror movie podcast a little later. But if you're in the guest queue or thinking about joining, make sure that you're 18.
That's a 10 o'clock show.
Yeah, exactly. If you're in the guest queue, make sure you're an adult and that you have some kind of argument or evidence for God. Maybe take questions about Saw. Hi, Jason. How old are you?
I am 35.
Okay, cool. And what God do you believe in?
So I believe in the Christian God, and I do want to say I like what you guys are doing. Even as a believer, I think it's good for people to question what they believe instead of just following it blindly because Grandma said it was what it was.
Sure. So what would you say is the best argument or evidence that would give us a reason to believe in God?
So outside of personal experience, I'm also big into science. And looking at all the way back to what the Christian faith would call creation, science believes in a Big Bang, that a bunch of stuff collided and exploded and created everything around us.
Well, that's a complete misrepresentation of what the Big Bang is.
Well, without going into all the details about
Well, right,
it,
that the things, everything that you just said as a descriptor of the Big Bang was wrong. Like, every single thing that you said about it was wrong.
Well, based off of what scientists believe, they believe
No,
that it
right,
was a
that's what I'm
collision.
saying. No, no, that's what I'm telling you. There was no collision. There was no explosion. You're just dead wrong about what the Big Bang is. So
No, I'm not saying I'm just saying that's what science believes.
no,
Science
that
has
isn't.
studied.
That is not what any scientist will tell you happened, or that the Big Bang is about. There's no collision. There's no explosion. Okay. So the scientific idea of the Big Bang does not involve a collision, and it does not involve an explosion. Do you understand?
I guess so. But
Okay,
anyway,
and it also doesn't involve the beginning of the universe. So we cannot appeal to the Big Bang for any of those things.
Okay. So without that, then everything has to have a start and a stop. Something has to come from something, right?
Okay, so everything that exists must have a beginning of its existence and an ending of its existence?
Right.
Okay, so when was the beginning of God's existence?
I believe that's what people believe. There's a God.
No,
Because
your
a God
claim is that everything that exists has a beginning to its existence. Presumably,
Right.
you think that God exists, right?
Well, to me, a God would
Does
be a
God
creator.
exist?
In my belief, a creator would have to create. Just like
Does
we're on a
God
live right
exist,
now, you're in
Jason?
content. I'm saying yes.
Okay,
I can't say
fantastic.
yes
So
for
I'll put
you,
the
but I'm
argument.
saying yes for me.
I'll put the argument up on the screen here. So your argument is that everything that exists has a beginning of its existence. God exists. So the conclusion would be God has a beginning of his existence. So when was the beginning of God's existence, and what
Not
brought him into
necessarily.
existence? This is
Not necessarily.
This is your argument, my friend.
Okay. Can I explain it real quick?
Well, the claim is not that the conclusion's necessarily true. What's being said is that the conclusion follows necessarily from the premises. So if the premises are true, then the conclusion is true. So if you want to deny the conclusion, that would require you to deny one of the premises.
No, I want to explain this before we add any more to it.
Well, I'm
Wait,
just showing.
If that's okay.
I'm
You
just
don't need
showing
to
what.
explain any-
Yeah, I'm
But
just showing what the
argument
problem
above
is.
shows- Yeah, the argument above shows that that's what you get. And if you don't
Okay.
want to get that conclusion, you have to deny one of the premises. At least one
So
of them.
then let's look at the current argument that's there without adding any extra to it, okay?
Just tell us which premise you think is false.
Yeah, you could say 1, 2, or 3.
Which one I think is false?
Yeah, is 1 false, is 2 false, or is 3 false? Because if you don't say one of them is false, then you would have to accept the conclusion that God doesn't exist.
Then I would say 3 is false.
Okay, so you're saying that you believe in a God that has a beginning of his existence?
No, 3 says if God exists, he doesn't have a beginning of it. Okay, no, I'm sorry. I thought I read that he does have.
Okay.
That's conclusion 1.
Yeah, though God has a beginning of his existence is that first conclusion there, or intermediary conclusion we could call it, that comes from the first 2 premises that you gave.
Right. Yes.
So you said that
that's
everything
the one
that
I would say
exists.
is false.
Well, okay, but that's the problem here, Jason. It follows logically from the things that you said that you believe. If you are committed to the position that everything that exists has a beginning of its existence, and you're committed to the position that God exists, then logically you have to be committed to the position that God has a beginning of his existence, because
not necessarily.
Well, then there's a contradiction in your view.
No, but can I explain?
Hold on. What? That's not necessarily stuff. It's just obviously.
Well, no, you guys aren't. Let me explain. If you'll give me a moment to talk, I will gladly explain. But you're both speaking and not letting me explain.
Hold on. It is true that if the first 2 premises are true, then the conclusion 1 does follow by necessity.
Yes.
It's just deductively valid, meaning it's not even possible the first 2 premises are true and not the conclusion, or at least the first conclusion. So the saying not necessarily stuff is actually just straightforwardly false.
Not if you take God and don't count him as an existing thing.
Okay, if you're saying, then you're rejecting premise 2 and saying God doesn't exist.
No, I'm placing God as a creator.
Does God exist? Yes or no?
But I'm trying.
Does God exist? Yes or no?
I said it already. To me, yes, but you guys will
Okay,
not
so if you're saying that God
exists,
exists, and you're also saying that anything that exists has a beginning of its existence, then it does necessarily follow that God has a beginning of his existence. This is what you're saying. This is what you're saying. All x's are y. A is an x. So we have to conclude A is a y. That's the only thing
that?
Because we
What
already
if
said
A is neither Y nor X?
Because we already said that it is an X.
No, you said, not me. You haven't let me explain yet.
Okay, so does God exist? Because that's what you're saying you're denying now.
I'm not denying that. I'm not.
Okay, so
classifying
then
God
that's saying
in
A is an
or a
X,
Y.
and then we can conclude
No.
from you saying that X's are all Y's that it's also a
No.
Y. So again, you're saying all X's, everything that exists, is a Y, aka something with the beginning of its existence. You're saying God is an X, A is an X. Therefore, we can conclude that A is a Y because you said that all X's are Y's, all things that exist have a beginning to their existence. God exists, therefore he has a beginning to his existence. So I'm not going to keep running around in circles. If your only strategy to debate, because you're not engaging. If your
You're
only
not letting me.
strategy,
You,
if your
you
only
both keep interrupting me and not
Because
letting
you're-
me. I've asked 4
Yes,
times
Jason.
if I can explain this.
Jason,
and you won't let me.
because you need to reject a premise or accept the conclusion and
I've
trying
done
to
that
do
3 times.
No, you haven't. You
But
keep
you won't let me
disagreeing with
elaborate.
yourself.
No,
you need
this
to
is a
you
debate, right? This is a debate.
Let's
A
just
debate
be
is
clear.
where
If
we
you answered multiple, hold on, you answered multiple times. I didn't really catch the answer.
Yeah.
So which premise did you deny?
that God has a beginning of his existence.
That's not a premise. That's one of the conclusions.
That's not a premise.
That's the conclusion, but you
Right.
you classify that under 2. I did not.
Hold on. The question was, which premise do you deny? And now you admitted that you weren't naming one of the premises. The conclusion is reached on the basis of the premises. And given it's deductively valid if the premises are true, then necessarily the conclusion. Hold on.
Prove to me
not
how
done.
God would
just
have
calm
to
down.
be in it.
Just calm down, please.
I'm fine.
Stop
I'm not
interrupting me.
upset. Will y'all interrupt me?
When I say calm down, I mean stop interrupting me. You can notice I'm still talking. I'm not done. I finished my thought when I stopped speaking.
Then will you
Clearly
give me
me
the same?
continuing. Why
will
are
you give me the
still
same respect?
interrupting me?
Because you don't give the same
I'm
respect.
not
You
gonna-
guys want to debate, but you don't let no one talk.
Hold on.
Yeah,
hold
the
on,
pro-
hold on. What are you doing? Look, in instances of interjection, it's reasonable. I think there's cases where you can interrupt where it's fair, right? Of course, you can explain why you think it's fair if you want to interrupt. But the point is that you're being very just You're just dodging, to be very clear.
No, I've tried
If
to
an
say it, but you
argument-
won't let me say it. I'm
Okay,
not
but the
dodging
question is which
anything.
premise? Okay, so let's get a clear answer. You're not dodging, so that means you're answering. Okay, and the question is, which premise do you deny? You blundered by naming the conclusion, which is reached on the basis of the premises, and we're actually asking which premise do you deny to not reach the conclusion.
And do you
Okay,
know
so
why
then
I've done
which
that?
premise? Don't ask your own question. You said you're not dodging.
No, I'm not.
Asking your own question is not answering mines. So that would be a
You're
dodge.
you're
Let's just
putting
try
me in the
again.
place
Let's
to
just-
answer your
All
question.
right, Jason.
You wanted my,
Hold on.
you
Ja-
asked my
hold on,
opinion.
hold on.
But
Jason.
I believe, but you
Okay,
have
can you
not let
stop?
me
Can
explain.
you just please? Okay,
Here we
just
go
stop.
with
You
interrupting
want
again.
We're not asking. Well, you're interrupting me. We're not asking. We don't need an explanation. What we just want to know is which premise you deny. We're not interested in you explaining why. We don't care. Just whatever you deny. That's fine. We just want to know which you deny.
And it's only going to be 1, 2, or 3. Those are the only acceptable answers because anything else is dodging.
No.
Okay, so you're not
imagine
willing
I
to
say,
answer?
If
I
I have
didn't
3
say
Jenga
that.
blocks, if I have 3 Jenga blocks, then I get a tower, and you don't want the tower, so I say you got to knock down one of the pieces. And then I say, okay, which piece you want to take out? And then you say, wait, no, I want to explain why I want to take out that piece. Well, I'm not really interested why you want to take out a specific piece.
So then
I
why
just
are we
want to know
debating?
which.
You don't want to know
hold on,
why.
Hold on. Again, do I need to mute you or can you control yourself? Just have some reservation and wait until I'm done speaking. All I want to know is if you're more confident there is not a Jenga tower, then just knock down a piece. I really don't care which piece you want to knock down or why. Just tell me which piece you want to knock down and we can address it.
Am I allowed to speak now?
Yeah, as long as your answer is either 1, 2, or 3. Any other answer, and I'm just going to move on because you're dodging.
All right, let's go with 1.
Okay, fantastic. I also agree that that is something that we should reject. So now that we've agreed that it's not the case that everything that exists has a beginning of its existence, why should we think that God exists?
I will rephrase question 1 if I'm allowed to do that.
Yeah, I'm just asking for the reason why we should think God exists.
Okay. And before I answer, I'm asking politely. I don't mean to interrupt, but can I at least explain why I'm stating what I'm stating? Because that's what a debate is. You're asking why I believe. But
Okay,
you're
Jason,
only
we're not
wanting
going
me
to do
make
any more
statements.
meta. If the thing that you're saying, if you're talking and what you're saying is relevant to the conversation, like for example, you're actually providing some argument or evidence for God, you won't get interrupted. But if you start talking and what you're saying is anything other than providing an argument or evidence for God, then you will either get interrupted or dropped. So
Okay,
if you don't
so
want to
let's
get
rephrase
interrupted or
question
dropped,
1.
then you just need to make sure that what you're saying is actually relevant.
Then let's start back from the beginning. Number 1, everything we see around us has a beginning.
Okay, you should be ending with therefore God exists. So
Therefore, God exists. Everything we physically see.
okay,
has a
well, I'm going to
beginning.
say that everything that we physically see has a beginning, therefore no gods exist. Now what do we do?
So, what about the wind?
Yep, that proves that there's no God.
No, we don't see it, but yet we see
Yeah,
the effects of it.
exactly. That's what proves that there's no God.
How does that prove there's no God?
Well, if you care about actually supporting the position, then it sounds like you understand the point that I'm making, because that's what I'm trying to get you to do. Instead of just making a claim and saying, I think X is true and that demonstrates that there's a God, you would need to show how X demonstrates that there's a God. For example, if you think it's the case that, everything that we know of existing in the universe has a beginning to its existence, then you would have to draw the line of reasoning from there to God existing. That's what we've
Okay.
been trying to get you to do this whole time.
Well, I've tried to explain, but before I could get to my point, I was stuck to pick 1, 2, or 3.
Yeah, because you said something really stupid and we were showing you how dumb it was.
No, I was building up to my point. So, okay, look at it this way. You're a content creator, correct?
I don't know. I don't know that I would call myself a content creator, but sure.
Well, there's content on TikTok.
I guess.
We see that exists because we see it.
Okay.
Could it exist without a creator?
Well, we have background information about TikTok videos, and we know that they only come into existence when someone creates them. However, you're trying to say that the universe was created, but we don't have background information about how universes come into existence. In fact, we don't even have any information that would tell us that universes can come into existence. So you need to bridge those gaps. You need to, you know, cross that divide.
So then if we don't have any information, and you look at all the math and the astronomy that's been done since the beginning of time, genius minds that have come up with all this stuff, but yet they have not found what created the universe.
Yeah,
So
because there
looking at
isn't
that,
a creation
how
of
can
the
we prove-
universe. They haven't found it because it doesn't exist. There's no such thing as the creation of the universe. Now, if you disagree, if you think there is a creation of the universe, what you need to do is not just claim that there's a creation of the universe, you need to provide the evidence that supports that conclusion.
How can we prove that it wasn't created by a creator?
Okay, so you don't have a way to show that there's a creator?
We don't have a way to show there's not a creator.
Okay, so you agree that you have no reason to believe in God.
No, I believe because I have
So-
faith, but I'm speaking on basic principles. I'm trying to keep my personal views out of it. I'm saying everyone looks and says, "Oh, well, we don't see God. How did
Where
he
are you
create
getting
this?"
that
But
there
we
isn't?
have no evidence, like you
Yeah, but
just said.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Where did you get this? Yeah, okay, well, you're right. I'm confused. Where did you get this thing that you can't prove that there isn't a God?
Well, I mean, give me facts to prove there isn't. No
that's-
one
that's
has
a
ever
burden
been
share.
able to
Yeah.
prove that there wasn't.
Okay, just focus. Just focus.
No,
Your
no,
claim is that you can't. Okay, just stop. You said that you can't prove that a God doesn't exist. How do you justify that claim? Don't ask a question. Justify that claim.
Well, isn't that what a debate is? Asking questions back and forth.
No.
What if I want to see what you guys believe? So
No.
you want me to say something that allows you to back me into a corner that you can pick apart?
Hold on. Now I hate this. Like, isn't this a debate thing? Just answer the question. You made a claim.
Well,
what's
just
the
answer my
justification?
question. Just answer my question.
Yeah,
What's
the
the-
problem is,
what's the
Jason, that you're
justification?
only asking a question because you know you can't answer the question that was asked of you. If you were answering questions as they were asked, then it would be a lot easier to allow you to answer or ask questions that we would answer. The problem is you've shown from the beginning of this conversation that you will not engage honestly. And so what we're doing now, instead of allowing you to derail the conversation with your questions, we're having to try to hold your feet to the fire to get you to answer basic, simple questions. You made a claim that no one can prove that no gods exist. How do you demonstrate that you're correct about that claim?
Because there's no proof that he doesn't exist.
Yeah, demonstrate that that's correct.
Well, you've already done that for me.
That's just the claim again. Do you understand the
Okay.
difference between making a claim and supporting a claim?
We have evidence on fossils going back hundreds of thousands of years.
Wait. Let's focus on that. You said that he showed that there isn't proof for atheism. Okay. How did he show that?
Because he can't give me proof that there isn't a creator.
Okay, so the fact someone can't give a justification for P is evidence that not P.
Where did P come from? Somebody had to make it.
That's not an answer.
Same with
to my
X and Y.
question.
That is an
Good.
answer.
The question was yes or no.
That's what you want me to say, but how do I know that's the correct answer? See, that's what
my
I'm saying.
God.
How
So you
is
don't know
that-
how yes and no questions work?
No, what I'm saying is you're asking
hold on,
a question.
the question was whether or not that's a justification for P, and what you said is someone had to make P. The question was,
Right.
is that a justification for P? Instead of saying yes, that's a justification, no, that's a justification, you instead said someone had to make P, which does not answer whether that's a justification.
It goes back to everything has to have a creator. Somebody has to create
Yes
something.
or no, is that a justification?
Not the way you want it to be.
I think we should just move.
Yeah, all right, Jason. I think you tried your best.
That guy was like horrible.
It's just so ridiculous. It's just like, oh, I don't even know. Like, what would you? The man was spinning around so fast, I thought he was a Beyblade. Oh,
I'm out of the freaking queue. That's what happened.
unbelievable. All right. Oh shit, we got a bunch of people requesting. All right. Okay. So if you're in the guest queue or thinking about joining, make sure that you're 18 plus, and that you have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide justification to believe in God. We're gonna try again one last time to see if Pemis Begins wants to join. Hey, hi Pemis. How old are you? All right, fair enough. No Pemis for us tonight. All right. If you are in the guest queue, make sure that you're an adult and that you actually have some kind of argument or evidence that would justify a belief in a God and doesn't rely on personal experience. Okay. Hi, Maddie. How old are you?
I'm 18.
Okay. Do you believe in a God?
I do.
Okay. Which God do you believe in? I can't hear you if you're off the app.
I believe in a Christian God.
Okay. And what would you say is the best argument or evidence that would provide justification to believe in God?
I would go in, and I would want to first agree that there's a guy named Jesus, and he claimed that he was a God. Do you agree?
I don't agree with either of those. I don't know any reason to think that Jesus existed, and I certainly don't know any reason to think that we know anything he did or didn't say.
Okay, I mean, we can look at...
But also, I don't know why it would matter, because, I mean, there are people that we know for sure existed, but neither you nor I think that their religious claims are believable. Like Joseph Smith was a real person. We know for sure that he existed, and we know for sure that he created the Mormon church, but that doesn't mean that Mormonism is true. Jim Jones was a real person, and we know that he took people to South America, and they killed themselves for him because he told them to. So we know that a bunch of people really believed in what he said enough to give their lives, but that doesn't mean that his religious claims were true. We know that Muhammad was a real... Oh, I guess you could just run away. That works too. They don't like it when you immediately show that their argument is bullshit. All right. Well, maybe Yah has something good for us. I'm not confident, but maybe. Hello, Yah. How old are you?
Hey, what's good, bro? 37 years old.
Okay, cool. What God do you believe in?
I'm a Muslim.
Okay, cool. And what would you say is the best argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God?
Let's go with the cosmological argument, cuz.
You know what? I am so happy that you can actually just say the argument that you want to give. And now I'll just make sure that we're on the same page. I assume that you mean the argument that everything that begins to exist has a cause. The universe began to exist, therefore the universe has a cause, right?
Yes, sir. That's it.
Fantastic. I love it. And what would you say is the best reason to think that the universe began to exist?
I guess my thing is the Big Bang, right? They claim the Big Bang happened, therefore the universe began to exist. So therefore it began to exist because of the Big Bang. Right? I don't think the universe always existed.
Well, the problem is that the Big Bang doesn't say anything about whether the universe began to exist. There was a study done a couple years ago that was fairly small, done at a conference in Copenhagen, and the physicists and cosmologists that responded, there it gave a 68% response that the Big Bang says nothing about the beginning of the universe. And then because that survey was popular, it was done again, but with a much, much larger sample. And with about 1,700 respondents from professional physicists, cosmologists, those types of people, they got the exact same result. 68%, weirdly, the same exact percentage, said that what we should take away from the Big Bang is that it's a theory that says the universe evolves from a hot, dense state, that says nothing about whether there was an absolute beginning of time or not. So since the scientific understanding of the Big Bang is that it doesn't tell us anything about whether the universe had a beginning, obviously we can't point to the Big Bang as a reason to think that the universe did have a beginning. So since we can't point to the Big Bang, what would be the reason to think the universe had a beginning?
Oh, okay then. Fair point. See, I didn't know that. Okay then. I guess that argument is null and void. I thought so. So in your paradigm, you believe the universe always existed. Is that fair to say?
Actually, I'm agnostic to whether the universe has a beginning or not. I don't know. I think that there are some good reasons to think that it could have had a beginning, not a beginning, but a first moment of time. Like, I don't think the universe has ever began to exist. I think that that's obviously not the case. However, I do think it's possible that the universe had a first moment of time, but I don't think that there's any reason. But it's also possible that the universe had an infinite past. So I think either could be the case, but either way, I don't think that the universe ever began to exist.
Okay, fair enough. Can I give you a different argument then?
I would love to hear it. Yeah, you're my favorite person I've talked to in days.
Hey, I appreciate that, cut. But have you ever heard the fine tuner argument?
I have an argument that I really like giving against fine tuning. However, I'll leave it up to you whether you want to give your case for the argument or if you'd rather hear my case against it.
I mean, you got the cosmological argument correct, so I'm sure you already know it. Yeah, let's hear what you got.
Well, so I don't think that fine tuning can be evidence for God. But let me just make sure that we're understanding the same things about God before I dive too deep here. Now, I don't know the most about Islam, so just tell me whether or not I'm understanding correctly. But is the Muslim God also like all powerful, all knowing, that kind of stuff?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fantastic. So if that is the case for your God, then we would say that if that God exists, he could create life with any physical constants, right? Like any way the universe could have been, God could have made life exist in that universe, right?
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah. And if it's possible that God could have made life exist in any way the universe could have been, then that means that the hypothesis God exists doesn't predict fine tuning, right? Because God doesn't need fine tuning to make life. So even if God existing makes us expect life to exist, it wouldn't make us expect fine tuning to exist. And so if theism, if the hypothesis God exists, doesn't predict fine tuning, then finding fine tuning can't be evidence for God. So what that means is that if the God you believe in exists, fine tuning could not possibly provide evidence for it. Now, I would actually take a stronger position and say that I think fine tuning, it would be evidence against your God, but we don't have to go that far.
Okay, yeah, I think you kind of lost me on this one. Okay. Like the way I look at the fine tuning argument, like if the universe was any kind of different, even like gravity, or even if the sun was like a mile closer, a mile further, like there wouldn't be no life. There's so many things that's like so fine tuned that if it wasn't that certain way, there would be no life. And I think there's an intelligent mind behind that. That's what I like to claim to be God. You know what I mean? Like I don't think it can be random. Like how could you? Go ahead.
Well, I have the opposite perspective, right? Because I think that what you're saying, like, you know, gravity being set where it is, the, you know, like magnetic forces and, you know, whatever, like the strong nuclear force, weak nuclear force, like all these like cosmological constant, whatever, all these like features of nature, if they weren't set the way they are, then life couldn't have developed naturally the way that it did. But they could be set in any condition. They could be at any value. And your all-powerful God would be able to make life anyway, right? Like gravity could be 1,000,000 times stronger than it is, and God would still be powerful enough to make life, right?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Damn, that's it. Let me think on that question real quick. Hold on.
I love that response so much. Just W's in the chat for this guest, because holy fuck, like this is.
But I ain't gonna lie, man, it's a good question. I can't lie to you, guy. You know what I mean? Like that's a good question. I mean,
yeah, I think that I genuinely don't think that the fine tuning argument makes sense, because the only reason we would need fine tuning is if there isn't a God, because then life would rely on fine tuning in order to come into existence. But if there is a God, especially an all powerful God, I just have no idea why we would think that there would be fine tuning. And what I was saying before is I think that fine tuning is actually evidence against God, because if you agree that fine tuning is unlikely, right? Like that's like the whole case for fine tuning, is that fine tuning is unlikely to happen, right? Like it's unlikely that the constants would be set exactly where they need to be for life, right?
Yeah.
Which what that means is that there are more possible universes without fine tuning than possible universes with fine tuning, right?
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah, like there are more ways the universe could have been that weren't fine tuned than ways it could be that are fine tuned, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And since God could have made life in any of the fine tuned universe and also any of the non fine tuned universe, it's actually more likely, if a God exists, that there would be life without fine tuning, because there are more possible universes that aren't fine-tuned that God could make life in than fine-tuned ones that he could make life in. And so since we should think it's more likely to find life without fine-tuning if God exists, then finding life with fine-tuning is actually at least some small amount of evidence against God, because we would expect it's more likely to find life in no fine-tuning if God exists. The only way that we should expect to see fine-tuning and life together is if there isn't a God that is powerful enough to make life however he wants.
I got you. That's an interesting perspective. I never heard of that take before. I mean, I got to give it to you. That's interesting. You know what I mean? I never heard of that. But hey, brother, I appreciate you bringing me up. I mean, I ain't gonna lie to you, brother. That was interesting. I appreciate you. You know what I'm saying? I learned a different perspective, so I appreciate that.
Well, I'll be honest with you, man. If you have a different argument sometime in the future, and you see me live and you want to talk about it, by all means, come up. I wasn't joking earlier. You're genuinely one of my favorite people I've talked to in quite a while, because you're like actually having the conversation, which a lot of people won't do. So sincerely, thank you so much for coming up and for having the conversation.
You, brother. No problem. I'll give you a follow. I appreciate you.
Thank you. And I just want to say, man, I love you and I wish nothing but the best in your life.
Love you too, cuz. Likewise. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah. Man, we need more people. I love people like that. I love people like that. Now, maybe he's never going to, change his position. Maybe he'll, be a Muslim forever. The fact that he's able to just have the goddamn conversation like that, I don't know. I respect the hell out of that. So I'm super stoked about that. Oh, wow. Now it's really all downhill from there.
I don't know. I didn't like him because you didn't get mad, and I like you.
Everybody wants Ogar Fuman. That's funny.
Right.
All right. Here we go. What do you think of my fine-tuning response? I don't know if I've run that with you here before. Or maybe
that all like the ways the world could be would be life permitting so long as God wanted.
Yeah, God's powerful enough to make life in any universe, so finding fine-tuning, so then theism doesn't predict fine-tuning, because because theism, you could say theism predicts life, but since life doesn't require fine-tuning if God exists, then theism can't predict fine-tuning. And then I think that you could take it a step further and say, because there's a higher likelihood, like if we're just saying principle of indifference, the more possible non-fine-tuned universes than fine-tuned universes that could have life if God exists, then it's unlikely to find the conjunction of fine-tuning and life. So finding the conjunction of fine-tuning and life seems like it's evidence against theism.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that is just Neil Sinababu's objection.
Yeah,
is that not? Or
I got the first one I got from Neil Manson on an episode of the Sci-Fi Show. And I just thought about that a ton, and then I realized, I think that I could take this a step further. And so then I wrote out the second argument. So, I had that first argument about it not being evidence, and then after running it a couple times, I realized, I think I can take this a step further. And then I wrote out the other argument, which isn't me saying that, I'm the first person to ever come up with it. It doesn't surprise me that somebody else has, but...
Wait, what's the second part again? Repeat that.
So theism predicts God can create life with any possible set of physical constants. If God can do that, then there are more possible universes where life could exist with fine-tuning than possible universes with a life where life could exist. There are more possible universes with life and no fine-tuning than possible universes with life and fine-tuning, which means that theism thinks under theism it would be more likely to find the conjunction of life and no fine-tuning than the conjunction of life and fine-tuning. And if that's what theism predicts, then finding the conjunction of life and fine-tuning, because it's unlikely under that hypothesis, is evidence against the hypothesis.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And like I said, I'm not going to claim to be the, originator of the idea, but that is something that I was pretty stoked to kind of come up with independently. Anyway, we can...
I mean, the truth is, chat, I gave him this argument.
You can't tell everybody that. That was... Now, why did I pay you all that money for this argument that I could tell everybody I came up with?
Yeah, I realized the principle overrules the money. And I already used it, so there's no point anyways. Yeah,
Fuck. Oh, I just get screwed every which way. Motherfucker.
I mean, hey, what could I say? It's a virtue, I'm honest.
Well, hey, I know where you got the argument, and that was from Eunice.
Okay, well, I also paid you not to say that. But...
Oh.
That's it.
Good times. All right.
It's atheist being atheist, backstabbing,
Yeah.
sinful, all that.
Well, we got no morals, so I mean, what else are we gonna do?
Yeah, I know.
Oh, I got a new book on ethical naturalism, and I'm so stoked to read it. I haven't gotten to it yet, but speaking of morals, I'm just super pumped to read that book. I don't think we've talked about morals a bunch. I don't know exactly where you are at with. Are you like a non-cognitivist, or am I just making that up? No, you're not a non-cognitivist.
No, I'm an anti-realist.
Okay. Yeah, I'm a realist. What are you gonna do? I think ethical naturalism and virtue ethics are the correct views.
Oh, you're more naturalist?
Yeah, that's my meta-ethical view, and then my normative ethical view is virtue ethics.
You're an analytic naturalist, or?
Ooh, I don't know the distinction.
It's that moral talk is identical to natural talk. They're like analytically equivalent, and where more synthetic naturalism is that moral facts are synthetically tied to natural facts.
Oh yeah, probably an analytical naturalist then. I need to, like I said, I got this book I want to read, and I think that my view will be a little bit more developed after that, but I would say probably right now I probably fall under analytical naturalism then.
Yeah, I don't think analytic naturalism is really problematic. I would even say arguably it's trivial.
Yeah, I think that what it boils down to is it's almost like the argument that I'm familiar with for it so far almost seems a little bit deflationary, where it's like the concept being, you know, when we talk about something being a good X or a bad X, we use that in specific ways when we talk about basically anything else, and then we act like when we're evaluating humans that it means something completely different, and we pretend that it's this whole other thing. And my view kind of is somewhere along the lines of like, if we just stop pretending that they're two totally different things, and we just say that, like, analyzing, you know, a cactus to say, is this a good cactus or a bad cactus, and the same kind of process you would go through to make that determination, I don't understand why it would be any different to determine whether if we're trying to evaluate whether someone's a good person or a bad person. So it's a little bit, maybe deflationary isn't the right word, but that's kind of how I think about it. But yeah, basically just equivalent.
Out.
Well, hey,
I got a question.
Oh yeah.
How do you think I would look with dreads? What do you think about me getting dreads?
Dude, dreads are like the coolest fucking thing ever, man. I don't want to be canceled because this was a long time ago, but I actually used to have dreads, and I fucking miss them. Now, I know I shouldn't have had them, and I know that I will not ever have them again, but I do miss the fuck out of them.
I can't imagine you with dreads. I wonder how that looked. You get a photo?
I might be able to find an old one, like, on my Facebook or something. They, like, before I cut them off, they were down to, like, I don't know, the small of my back. They were really long. I had them for
Kobe's
years.
saying no, I shouldn't get dreads.
I don't know, man. Just do whatever, man. I will say, like, your hair is epic as it is. So, I mean, it's not like it would be a bad thing. Yeah. I think it looks cool as fuck, personally.
Word. The thing is, if I get dreads, I'm not going to have them for a while because that shit's going to need to be retwisted, all that. And I'll probably keep them for a year, maybe like at best, or maybe a little bit more. But I do get a reference photo, so if you ever want to see it, let me know.
Yeah, I do.
Actually, I could put one up. Let me see.
Two-hand twist, somebody said? I don't even know what that is.
Nah, I don't know what that is either.
I don't know shit about hair. I just appropriate and then apologize for it later. Oh, yeah.
That's me.
Yeah. I think that looks good. But you got to let them get, like, real super long, you know? Because dreads are, like, way cooler when
That's
they're
the thing.
long.
My hair is short right now. I don't know if I should just grow my hair. The thing is, they'll naturally grow. But the thing is, like, starter dreads take forever. Like, it'll take months even to start growing.
Yeah.
Because they're going to be locking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it took forever with my hair, and I'm sure it would probably take longer with yours.
Yeah, I can imagine. But yeah, I don't know. I might try it out.
Do it up, man. I think you should. I think it'd be cool.
Nah, not cornrows. Nah, cornrows is trash. I don't like that show your scalp. I can't stand looking at the scalp.
Sure. Well, you'll have to let us know what you decide and show us if you end up doing it.
All right, peace out.
Sure, we'll see it. Yeah, have a good one, man.
Final thing. I actually started. What's that horror film series? What is it called? It's the new movie that came out.
There's so many new movies.
It's like Dead Rise. How did I forget? I was
Evil Dead?
watching it earlier. Yeah, Evil Dead. I started watching Evil Dead franchise.
I'm not the biggest fan. Like, they're too goofy. Like, I don't know.
They are.
It's just I don't. There's a type of goofiness I like in horror, and that's not. Well, see, we've talked about this before because I like all the trashy slashers that are super goofy and weird, and I think I remember you saying you don't like those. So that's the kind of goofiness that I prefer in horror.
Yeah, I don't know how you. I can't stand slashers.
I love them. They're the best, man. Give me Jason Voorhees on a boat taking out high school kids. I don't know why, but it's so cool. Or walking around New York.
The franchise gets good.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know how much you've seen, but
I haven't seen the newest ones. Like, there's a couple new ones, and there's another new one coming out that I haven't seen, but I don't know. I know I got a buddy who keeps telling me, like, no, you got to watch the new ones. They're so good. So maybe I'll get to them eventually. But
all right, well, I'll let you go.
All right, man. Have a good one.
Whooping these low tiers, I guess.
Will do.
I mean, it's hacks when 98% of you put it at easy mode. 98% of them can't give arguments. So
that's my secret. I filter out the good ones.
Well, mine's just set to 99% incoherent babble. So I mean, technically, someone's playing a little more fair.
Oh man. Well, W for Monkey Boy. Love when he stops by. All right. Well, we'll see if we can have some good conversations. We got like another hour that I want to go here. So, all right. If you're in the guest queue or thinking about joining, this isn't actually a horror movie podcast or a time to talk about people's hair. We're going to talk about whether or not God exists. So make sure that you're an adult and you have some kind of argument or evidence for God. Hey, Obelisk. Glad to have you over there. Okay, so we'll bring up Biggs. I've heard that's good, Killjoy, but I haven't seen it. I don't like haunting stuff. You joining Biggs? Bueller? Okay, we'll take that as a no. Become mod. The people that I make mod are like, well, honestly, most of the people who are mods are people that have been here for like a long time, like since I started. And it was because once there started being too many comments for me to really like even try to pay attention to them while doing debates, I just started modding people that had been here for a while that I see a lot. And I haven't really added a lot of new mods in a while. Quiet Place 2, I think, is the best movie in that series. It's fantastic. Okay. If you're in the guest queue or thinking about joining, make sure that you're 18 plus and have some kind of argument or evidence. Let's get back to the substance. Hi, Coins. How old are you?
Hey, how's it going? 40.
Cool. I'm also 40, so we can reminisce about the late 80s and early 90s.
Yeah.
What God do you believe in?
The one and only.
Okay. Which one's that?
God the Father.
Okay. Do you mean the Christian?
God of all.
Do you mean the Christian God?
Yes.
Oof. That in the future, I recommend just like saying that if you're asked such a question, because it's really dumb that I had to ask like 5 questions to get that out of you.
Okay, well, you say what God, but there is only one God, so...
Yeah, in your opinion, there's only one God that exists. In my opinion, there's thousands of gods that don't exist that you could believe in, and I don't know which one it is until you tell me. But now that we figured out what God you believe in, what is the best argument or evidence that would provide justification to believe in that God?
Okay, God is existence itself.
Okay.
If
Well,
we exist, then you see God.
okay. Well, I believe that things exist, but I don't believe in any gods. So what's the difference?
Okay, but if you see things that exist, then you also see God.
I disagree. So what am I missing?
Okay, well, the beauty of Earth, the trees, the birds.
I see a lot of
the
beautiful things. Yep,
animals,
I've seen beautiful
people.
trees and birds and blah blah blah. Why
Yeah,
should I
but
think
why
that
would
there's a
you
God?
see? If God wasn't real, why would you not see those beautiful things?
Yeah, that's the question. Why would those things not exist if it was just existence without being God?
There would be no reason for you to have eyes if God wasn't real.
Why?
You could just be a
Why is that the
worm.
case?
Because God gave us eyes.
No,
to
that's
see
the
beauty.
claim. Why should I think that that's true?
Because I told you, because without God, you wouldn't.
Yeah,
need
that's the
eyes
claim
to see.
coins. I'm not asking you to state the claim again. I'm asking you for some argument or evidence that supports the claim.
All right. Well, there's miracles. The space is vast, and when you look into the heavens, into space, God is all of it. He is the stars. He is the earth.
Yeah,
He
that's
is
the
sky.
claim. I believe in that stars exist. I believe that the earth exists. Why should I believe that a God exists? If you can't give me anything more than just stating
Okay.
your claim that God exists, I'm just going to move on.
I can, because love.
Okay.
Love.
Fair enough. If all you're going to do is just like say nouns and then say that proves God exists, then we're not getting anywhere. Hey, thanks, Denise Ann. Speaking of which, thanks everybody for the support. Thank you to Denise, Grandpa Books. Awesome to see you here. Thanks for also sending some love Monkey Boy's way. Thank you, Lem. Thank you to Vishab, Zane, Big Micah style sticks. Showing Monkey Boy some love as well. That's awesome. Drew, what is this? Oh, World Greatest. What is this one? Common Sense with Alan. That sounds fun. Miss Casey, Mike Key, The Money Artist, Mean Bean, Pay to Win. Yeah, thank you everybody. Sincerely, like, the support genuinely means a lot to me. It's like, people supporting has allowed me to, like I said, buy new monitors, buy a new camera, multiple new cameras because one of them sucked. And I'm currently trying to save up to buy a better computer so I can do more with the stream as well. So thank you guys very much for the support. If you're in the guest queue or thinking about joining, make sure that you're 18 plus and that you have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide justification to believe in a God. Holy shit, if we hit 3,500 tonight, that'll be crazy.
Hey, how's it going?
Hi, how old are you?
I'm 33.
Okay, and what God do you believe in?
The Christian God.
Okay, and then what would you say is the best argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in God?
Well, I was curious to hear your thoughts on the moral argument for why is there objective morality. I know you mentioned, I think it was non-cognitivism. Is that correct? Are you a non-cognitivist? Is that what you said earlier?
No, I was trying to predict what Monkey Boy's position on morals is.
Oh, okay. Well,
I'm a moral realist. I think that there are objective morals, and my meta-ethical view on that is called ethical naturalism. I think that moral truths are natural truths, and then my normative view would be virtue ethics. I think that what it means to be good, is like, I think morals are agent-centered, not act-centered. So I don't think that, like, while we can say, like, you know, we can try to give an evaluation of whether a certain act was moral or immoral, I think that what makes more sense is to say that morals operate at the level of the agent themselves. And so what we should be striving for isn't to perform good actions or avoid bad actions. What we should be striving for is to be good people and avoid being bad people. So I don't know if that
That's
makes any
interesting.
sense.
So I think I understand. I'm not the most familiar with like the philosophical arguments, but I think this is really helpful for me to understand. So thanks for sharing that. And then, so just to understand, how do you disassociate or disconnect the moral being from the moral doing, I guess? Because I would say what you do is who you are and who you are is what you do. Is that
Yeah, that's fine. I just think that, like, what's a way to describe? Well, okay, I'm going to answer this question the best I can, but then we need to move on to the actual topic of God.
Okay.
But basically what I'm saying is that what we should be thinking about isn't like a set of rules like this action is good and that action is bad and this action is good and that action is bad. Like, that's more of like a deontologist perspective. And I think that, like Kant heads in the audience will stand deontology. But to me, what we should be saying is, what makes someone a good person? And then when we want to discuss actions that you should or shouldn't take, what we would say is the actions that you should take are the actions that a characteristically virtuous agent would take, and the actions you shouldn't take are the actions that a characteristically virtuous agent wouldn't take, right? And now, obviously, there are going to be edge cases, there's going to be moral dilemmas, and so I'm not saying that it's super easy to know, always what the right thing is to do, or even what the least wrong thing is to do when you're in a dilemma. But I just think that, like, it makes more sense to say what kind of person do you want to be, and then determine what actions you take based on whether or not they move you closer or further away from being the kind of person that you want to be.
Oh, yeah, okay, that makes sense to me. Well, I think that the reason morality, since you want me to kind of just state my case, I guess.
Please.
The reason, and thank you so much for explaining that, because I really do appreciate you clearly are thinking about these things a lot, so it's really helpful for me. I think the reason I think morality is a good justification for God is because we see objectively in everyday conversations when we look around that people are basing, are judging things as good, people as bad, actions as good, and actions as bad. So we constantly see that there is an objective morality, whether it's things like Hitler, in the Holocaust, or a genocide, or it's currently happening, or some other case. But where does that objective morality come from? I don't think there's a good justification outside of a lawgiver. So that's kind of why I guess in a case.
Well,
why I think that's good.
So here's my issue. My issue here is that it sounds like the argument is the typical moral argument: if objective moral facts exist, then God exists. Objective moral facts exist, therefore God exists. Am I understanding correctly?
I think that's exactly what I'm saying, yeah.
Okay. I thought so, but I don't ever want to straw man anybody.
Yeah, thank you.
My issue here is that I think that this argument is self-defeating. And the reason I say that is because I think that any way that you try to support the second premise, that objective moral facts exist, will ruin this argument. Now, you made it clear that when you are going to demonstrate that moral facts exist, you're probably going to reference God. But first off, can we agree that there are only two categories of ways to support that objective moral facts exist, either with reference to God or without reference to God? You would agree that that's a dichotomy, right?
I will go with what you say, because I'm not, like I said, I'm not as studied lately in this, so yes.
Okay. Well, the reason I say that is, like, you could tell that you have a true dichotomy if it's like P and not P, right? So we're saying with reference to God or without reference to God, that covers all possibilities.
Oh, yes. Okay, yeah, I agree. Yes.
Fantastic. So now I don't think you're going to do it this way, but I want to get this out of the way first. If you were to try to demonstrate that moral facts or objective moral facts exist without reference to God, well, then what you would have done is demonstrate that the first premise in the argument is wrong. You would have disproven that if objective moral facts exist, then God exists, by showing that you can get objective moral facts without God. Right, so you don't want to.
Could you put the argument on the screen for me, just so I can visualize it?
Yeah,
if it's not possible, that would help me.
Absolutely, it is. Yep. So I'll even here write what I'm saying. So there are two ways to support P2, either with reference to God. Well, let's say without first, because I like doing it in this order because that's what makes sense to me. With reference to God. And so what I was saying there is that if we did it this way without reference to God, this demonstrates P1 is false, right? So that would ruin the argument, because you would have shown that P1 is false, and if P1 is false, it doesn't matter. P1 is true. You could never get to the conclusion, right? Does that make sense?
I'm so sorry. I'm not tracking. That might be my bad here.
Yeah, so if we're saying that objective moral facts exist and we can demonstrate that without referring to God, then we've proven then we've proven that objective moral facts can exist without God existing.
Okay.
Right? So this.
I think I understand. Yeah.
Okay, so this method of supporting the second premise ruins this argument.
Okay.
So I don't think you're going to do that, but I like to get that out of the way. So now we can do we can talk about what I think you are doing, which is trying to demonstrate that moral facts exist with reference to God. But this,
I see now. Okay.
This makes the argument circular, because what you're saying is that God exists because objective moral facts exist, and objective moral facts exist because God exists, which means the argument reduces to God exists because God exists.
I see what you're saying.
So I don't think that there's any way for the moral argument to have any force, because it's the only two possible ways to support the second premise ruin the argument, either by demonstrating that the first premise is false, or by making the argument circular.
I think I get what you're saying now. So I guess going off of the second one with reference to God, making the argument circular, I think this even goes back to what you were talking about with that other guy who kept saying, if something exists, then there must be a cause, when it's actually the argument as a Christian is if something begins to exist, there is a God, correct? And then I think that would relate to this as well, right? So we would say it's not that God exists because there is morality, but God never began to exist. You know what I mean? So he is outside of time. He's outside of morality. So objective morality doesn't depend on him, I think is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, but then that means that then you're coming up to this option.
He does not depend on. Yeah. Okay. So I am going back to the first one.
Yeah, because as soon as you say, well, we can get to objective morals without God, then you've said that it's no longer true that if objective moral facts exist, then God must exist.
Okay, I'm gonna have to think on this one to wrap my mind around this.
Yeah, this is an argument or a response to this argument that I heard from a philosopher named Dan Linford. He's actually a philosopher of science, but very intelligent guy. If you
say the name again, Dan
Linford. I'll put it on this. I was about to try to spell it out verbally, but his name is Dan Linford. I don't remember what college he teaches at right now, but yeah, he is a really intelligent philosopher. There's this guy Phil Halper who does a show, like a YouTube vlogcast. Yeah, yep. Phil Halper, or his YouTube channel is Skydive Phil. But he does a show called The Sci-Fi Show, which is spelled like this. Science and philosophy.
You referenced that earlier, right?
I talk about it all the fucking time, dude. They should be paying me how much I shill for them.
Oh my gosh.
But
that's amazing.
So there's three guys that do this show. The other one is Phil Halper is British, and then there's another British philosopher, Dan Linford being an American. But Phil Halper and Alex Malpass are two British philosophers. Dan Linford's an American philosopher. Alex Malpass is my personal favorite living philosopher. I love the guy. I think that he's so intelligent.
Wow.
And these three guys do this show. Now, sometimes they have other people on it. But the reason that I'm referencing it right now is, number one, it's where I got this idea from Dan Linford that this argument doesn't work. And then number two, it's also a source where they talk about lots of different arguments. Like every episode, what they typically tend to do is they'll alternate between some really serious, rigorous argument for God that they'll take a lot of time and they'll put a lot of care into responding to all of its points. And then they'll do an episode where they're just clowning on some moron that doesn't know what he's talking about just for fun.
That's amazing. That's so great.
And the clowning episodes, I still get some information out of it. There's still some good stuff in there, but mostly it's just kind of, a tension relief. But then when they do the really serious ones, I have learned so much from those episodes, from listening to them, hearing them explain their positions, because this is, three people with PhDs talking about this area that they're not only professionally competent in, but also personally interested in. And I don't know.
And are they teaching somewhere, or are they professors at all with their PhDs, or do they just do the show mainly?
So Dan Linford is a professor. I don't remember what college he works at, but he is a professor. I don't know what Phil Halper actually does. And then Alex Malpass does not work in academia anymore. He still publishes, but he's not making his living in academia.
Got it. Amazing. Well, hey, thank you so much for I learned a lot right now, so thank you, and I'll try to get more into this and look into it, and maybe I'll circle back to you or something. So,
Yeah. If in a couple of weeks or a month or two or whatever, you've got either a different take on this argument or a different argument you want to discuss, I'd be happy to chat again.
Awesome. Thanks so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good one.
You too. Bye.
Awesome. W's in the chat for Real Faith. As I was saying before, well, we got two really good people almost like close together, because the other one, that Muslim, he was such a good interlocutor, so good faith, and I feel the same about this last guest, Real Faith Conversations, just exactly the kinds of conversations that I wanted. Oh shit! I think I turned down the volume a while ago and I forgot to turn it back up because somebody was being an asshole. I'm sorry. Not trying to fucking volume mog anybody, if that's the way to say that kind of stuff. I can't bring up somebody who isn't requesting. So if the Steezy person wants to come up, they would have to be requesting. Okay, so Dan Linford's at Old Dominion University. I know that he's worked at a bunch of different universities. So I couldn't remember which one he was at now. But all right, so if you're in the guest queue or thinking about joining, make sure that you're 18 plus and that you actually have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide justification to believe in God without referring to personal experience, preferably. Hi, Unranked. How old are you?
35.
Cool. What God do you believe in?
Jesus Christ.
Fantastic. And what would you say is the best argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God?
I usually would talk about my personal life, how I've been changed and touched through the Holy Spirit. But for this argument, I won't keep it personal. I'll talk about the Old Testament. There's over 100 prophecies of Jesus, what he was going to do, and they were all accomplished in the New Testament and the Gospels of Jesus Christ.
Okay, well, let's imagine that that's the case. Why would that give us reason to believe in God?
Because if I said tomorrow you're going to sneeze at 2:45 and then drive your car to Wawa, eat a sandwich, and then all those things happen, you would say that my prophecy was true, right? Because
I would say that you accurately predicted it, yeah.
Okay, but this was hundreds of years ago, and it still happened. He died on a cross. They mentioned that. They said you were right on a donkey.
So unranked.
All those things happened.
Unranked. Let's say that I accurately predict what the winning lottery numbers are going to be tomorrow, and as part of my prediction, I say that the true creator of the universe is Eunice, the universe farting unicorn. Does that mean that if I accurately predict the lottery numbers that Eunice really exists, or are those two things not necessarily connected?
There were different prophets that
Okay,
predicted
I need
Jesus.
you to actually answer my question, Unranked.
Of course not. That's one example.
Okay, so what you're saying is that just making a prediction that comes true doesn't mean that other claims about where the prediction came from are necessarily true, right?
Okay.
Right, because I could say, like, let's say I accurately predict the winning lottery numbers, and I say that I got the winning lottery numbers from Eunice. She told me in a prophecy, in a vision, what the numbers would be, and that's why I got them right. It's possible that I could get the numbers right and Eunice not actually exist, right?
You're giving one example. There's multiple.
I'm
Like I said,
just asking a question to
the
make
Old
sure that we're on the same page about this principle here. Would it be the case that I could accurately predict the lottery numbers and Eunice not actually exist, even though I said I got the numbers from her?
Okay, we'll go with that. We'll go with that route.
Fantastic. So if it's possible, so here's what we're going to put up on the screen. Okay, we're going to say, connecting supernatural claims to accurate predictions does not mean the supernatural claims are true. This is not gonna work.
You know that even secular
supernatural
people believe in
claims
the Old Testament.
are
They say it's an ancient
connected
manuscript.
to Christian predictions that apparently came true. Conclusion: the Christian supernatural claims are not necessarily true. So I don't think that this is the best argument I've written out, but just pulling it out of my ass, it's decent. fair enough. It should be good enough for the purposes of this conversation.
Appreciate it.
So,
but think about it. It's respected. The Old Testament is respected.
That doesn't matter.
Like secular
all,
people.
all we're talking about right now,
true.
unranked.
It is true.
All we're talking about right now is whether making an accurate prediction entails that your supernatural claims are true. You've agreed that making accurate predictions doesn't entail that the supernatural claims connected to them are true. So that means that Christians making accurate predictions, or people in the history of the Christian tradition making accurate predictions, doesn't necessarily entail that the Christian religion is true, or that the supernatural claims of Christianity are true. So
multiple people, multiple
that's fine.
Multiple,
yep, that's fine.
Not even connected.
Yeah, you know what? Do you know what? Do you know what 0 plus 0 is?
0.
Yeah, exactly. So when you have one person making a prediction with a supernatural claim, and that's not evidence, and a second person making another one that's not evidence, and a third one, and a 20th one, and an 8,000th one, if none of them are evidence, then all you've done is add 0 to 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 0, and then the result is just going to be 0. So this isn't providing any evidence.
Yes, it is, because
how
it really
so?
happened.
How does this provide? What is the substantive difference between these and my example with Eunice?
Because you're one man and you gave one example. These are different people that said this about Jesus, and it came to fruition.
So you're saying that if I predicted the lottery numbers correctly and said that I got the information from Eunice, that it would be some evidence that Eunice is real?
No.
Okay. Well, if it's 0 evidence that Eunice is real, then even if I had 8 million instances of that happening, it would still be 0 evidence, right?
No one has done that. No one has done.
I'm not asking whether anyone has done that.
No one has done that. You're giving me like hypotheticals.
Yeah, exactly. I'm asking you a hypothetical. Are you capable of engaging in a hypothetical?
I did. I told you.
Okay, so then if it was 8 million instances of 0 being added to 0, I would still end up with 0, right?
Just the fact that you're having this argument online, you believe in God. You turned away from the faith.
I really like how as soon as you realize that you have nowhere to go in the argument and that you're fucked, then you just move on to this this meta and trying to talk about me as if that has anything to do with the conversation.
God doesn't exist. Why do you care?
So what you're saying is that you actually don't have an argument, and now you just want to talk about meta because you're scared to admit it.
Let's talk about this.
So then talk about why your claim should be evidence, but my example wasn't.
Spirit. It was given by God. Why don't you kill? Why don't you rape? Huh? Oh, because it's not the right thing to do.
So you don't want to actually engage in the conversation? You want to engage in the substance?
Let's engage.
You're going to run away from your own argument?
My man, I already told you.
Okay, so then explain to me how it's evidence, because as far as I can tell, you've agreed that it isn't evidence.
They were fulfilled.
That's in my prediction of the in my example with the lottery numbers, that was fulfilled as well, and that wasn't good enough, was it?
Oh man, you have no faith. You got to believe.
Yeah.
You have to believe in Jesus Christ.
Exactly.
So you're gonna die.
So you don't actually have a reason. All you have is just a faith.
I already told you.
Okay.
I already told you.
All right. Well, it seems like you've done the best that you can, and unfortunately, it wasn't good enough. Okay. Limor, that's fucking hilarious. Okay. All right. So if you, I agree, Snakes. I completely agree. Okay. If you are in the guest queue or thinking about joining the guest queue, make sure that you are 18 plus and that you have some kind of argument or evidence that will provide rational justification to believe in a God. Okay. IT Bags, how old are you?
I forgot that was my name on here. Yeah, I'm 28.
Yeah, well, it's bringing up memories. I've been teabagged before, and it was not pleasant. Now I just want to tell that story, but that's not what we're here for. What God do you believe in?
Jesus Christ.
Okay, and now I got so distracted. I asked you that you're an adult, right?
Yeah, I'm 28 years old.
Okay. Oh, yeah, you said that. All right.
I hope I'm loud enough. Oh, yeah, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sorry, I hope I'm.
No, you're good. I forgot that I had an annoying person on here who wouldn't shut up. a different time, and I turned the volume down, and then I forgot to ever turn it back up. So I think I got to turn back up. Hopefully we're good.
No, you're good. I was gonna say I have a 2-month-old in the other room, so I'm gonna try to be as loud as possible for you, but I'm gonna like stay as quiet as I can.
Fair enough. I mean, obviously, yeah, that's a higher priority than talking to me. But yeah, so what would you say is the best argument or evidence that would give us justification to believe in God?
Okay, I don't mean to disrespect in any way by dejecting from the structure of the debate setting you have, but I feel it's important to structure my argument by answering it with another question, is by saying that I think it's a bit of a dead-end debate in the same way as if you were to ask, how can you prove God isn't real?
That's not a dead end.
I don't think there's a plausible way to really prove in an evidence-based argument one way or the other.
Oh, yes, there
whether
is.
God is or isn't real.
Yeah, we can
Okay,
definitely,
well,
we can pretty
could you
easily
give me an
demonstrate.
example?
Yeah. So either God was always creating or not always creating. If he was always creating, then the universe always existed. But if it always existed, it wasn't brought into existence, which would mean that God didn't create it. If he was not always creating, then that means that he had to change from not creating to creating. If he changes, he's in time. If he's in time, he didn't create time. If he didn't create time, then he didn't create the universe. So we've seen that the only two options, either he was always creating or not always creating, both lead to the conclusion that God didn't create the universe. However, if God exists, then he did create the universe. Therefore, God does not exist.
I'm sorry. I'm having a hard time understanding what you're saying. Like,
yeah. So
you're
there are only two possibilities. Either God was eternally creating, like he created without beginning, like there was no beginning to his act of creation, or there was a beginning to his act of creation. Those are the only two options. That's a logical, true dichotomy, right?
Okay.
Okay. So if those are the only two options, and both options lead to the conclusion that God didn't create the universe, and then we also know that if God exists, he did create the universe, that means God doesn't exist.
Well, I think you're kind of like locking the logic of it based upon, it has to exist this way because...
No, I'm not saying it has to be a certain way. I'm just saying, like, these are things that we can conclude just on logic alone. Are you saying that logic doesn't apply to God? Because if that's what you're saying, then you wouldn't be able to have a belief in God.
No, I'm not saying logic doesn't apply. I'm just
well
saying,
then don't give a rebuttal to the argument that relies on logic not applying to God.
So what's your argument that that God didn't create the universe? Yeah, I'm
because either his act of creation had a beginning or it didn't. Like either there was a state of existence where he wasn't creating and then a subsequent state of existence where he was creating, or there's only ever been the state of existence where he's creating. Those are the only two possibilities. Just that's a logical dichotomy.
So why is it not possible that he existed before the creation of the universe?
Yeah, because if he existed in a state of existence without the universe and then brought the universe into existence in a different state of existence, that means that God changed. But if God changed, that means that he's in time. And if he didn't create time, because if he's in time, he didn't create time. And if he didn't create time, then he didn't create the universe. And if he didn't create the universe, he doesn't exist.
Why would he have had to have changed to create the universe if he had existed prior to the existence of the universe?
Yeah, because he was in a state of existence where his existence was not sufficient to bring the universe into existence. And then he changed to a state of existence where something, in him was sufficient to bring about the existence of the universe. So that is necessarily, requires a change internal to God. Unless you're saying that there's something external to God that is responsible for creating the universe.
That's based on an assumption, though.
Nope, it's not based on an assumption.
He could have decided to create this universe.
Right, that decision would require him to change.
Okay.
He would have to go from in a state of existence where he hasn't decided to create the universe to a different state of existence where he has decided to create the universe. That's a change.
Or he decided to create this universe at a different time and knew he was going to. I mean,
Right. So,
you could
but
make
even if
that
he,
argument.
yeah, even if he made that decision, something would have to change from him being in the state of existence where he hasn't created it yet to the state of existence where he has created it. The only way that it's possible for that to happen without God changing is to say that something external to God is what's responsible for the universe coming into existence. But as soon as you say that, then God's not ultimate. And if God's not ultimate, once again, he doesn't exist.
And so you're saying his decision to not have the universe exist eternally and always and making a decision to create it is evidence that he's not ultimate.
Yes. Well, it's not evidence. It guarantees that he's not ultimate. It's like it makes it 100% definite.
But why?
Because in order to be ultimate, he would have to be the source of everything else that exists. And if it's something external to God that is responsible for bringing the universe into existence, then he's not the source for everything that exists. So you would be saying he both is and is not the source for everything that exists. That's a contradiction. Contradictions don't exist.
That I don't believe that to be a contradiction. He can decide to create the universe whatever he feels like.
Yeah, if he goes from not having, so there's only a couple of options here. Either he had always decided when the universe would come into existence, but again, that means that he's in time, experiencing the passage of moments, waiting for the moment where he's going to create the universe. But we've already said if God is in time, then he didn't create time. And if he didn't create time, he didn't create the universe. And if he didn't create the universe, he doesn't exist. So it's not possible for God to be like waiting around for when he's ready to create the universe, because that requires him to experience a passage of moments, which means he's in time. And if he's in time, then he's not ultimate, and he didn't create the universe.
That's based on the assumption that our understanding of the universe, quantum mechanics.
No, it's based on the assumption that logic applies to God. But unfortunately, you need to make that assumption too, because if logic doesn't apply to God, you can't have a belief in God.
I don't find that to be logical, though.
What isn't logical?
That the idea that because he decided to create the universe at a given point means that thus he has to exist in time, therefore he can't exist because he's not ultimate.
So how did he go from not creating to creating without a change?
He wouldn't have to change. You could
right,
create
explain it.
Any amount of you could literally do whatever he wants.
Explain how he went from not creating to creating without changing.
Okay, so if I were to say, okay, I'm going to build this house, and then tomorrow I'm going to go build that house. How is that me changing?
Yeah, because you go from building one house to building another house. You experience a passage of moments where something that was true in one moment is no longer true in another moment. That's changing.
How do you not know he decides to live within the passage of time under his own fruition?
Yeah, then that means that there's a contradiction there. Because if God is both in time and outside of time, then it's the case that he does experience the passage of moments and he doesn't experience the passage of moments, which is a contradiction, which, again, since contradictions aren't true, that would mean God doesn't exist.
How is that a contradiction, though? Like, where is
because it's do you know, like the rigorous definition of a contradiction is going to come down to something like P and not P, right? So affirming a proposition and its negation simultaneously. That's a contradiction. And so what's happening is you're affirming the proposition God does not experience the passage of moments, and you're also affirming the proposition God does experience the passage of moments. That's affirming a proposition and its negation simultaneously, which is the definition of a contradiction.
Okay, so that would be like saying, I'll use the same type of logical framework I just used a second ago. That'd be like saying, okay, I have the capability of building 3 houses in the next week, but I'm going to decide to build 1 house now and 1 house at the end of the week. And then someone says, well, you built 2 houses, therefore you're unable to create 3.
No, that has nothing to do with what I'm saying. What I'm saying is God exists necessarily. If God is ultimate, he exists in a state of existence without time. And a state of existence without time is a state of existence without change. So what you need to do is you need to explain how God can go from not creating the universe to creating the universe without changing.
I just think this is kind of like
that's your dialectical burden right now, T-Bags. You need to explain how he can make that shift from one state of existence to another without it being a change. Because as far as I can tell, shifting from one state of existence to another is a change. So I don't see how it's possible for God to do that without changing, and I'm waiting for you to explain it.
Well, my question to you
no more questions to me, T-Bags. Either you're going to engage and actually explain how this works, or I'm just going to take it as a concession.
Well, it's not a concession.
Okay, then explain it.
Pigeonholing.
No, then explain how God can change without changing.
Framework, and you're saying that if it doesn't.
So if I'm wrong,
these
T-Bags,
exact rules that I've
T-Bags,
set up,
if I'm wrong, then you can demonstrate that I'm wrong.
Like,
if I'm wrong, then you can demonstrate that I'm wrong by explaining how this works. So explain how it works that God can go from not creating to creating without changing. If the next thing that you say is anything other than that explanation, or at least an attempt to give that explanation, I'm just going to take it as a sign that you know you can't do it and you don't have the courage to admit it.
I don't think that's fair, but okay.
Fair enough. Yeah, I get so sick of going around in circles over and over and over and over again. Nobody said anything about changing his nature, James. Try to track. All right. Oh, man. All right. If you are in the guest queue or thinking about joining the guest queue, make sure that you're 18 plus and that you have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God. Try to... All right. Asked for Proclus Dilemma. Try to run away from it. Oh, shit. I always forget to bring that up, Bradley Cooper. Thank you. So I do have a YouTube. I'm finally over 100 subscribers over there. I would love to get that up to, I think it needs to be like 1,000, and then I can do a lot more over there. So anybody who is willing to go over to the YouTube at Ogar Debates and give me a subscription, I would greatly appreciate it. Also got some videos over there as well. And then I also did start a Discord, which you should be able to join by going to tinyurl.com/Ogar Debates. And then we can, well, the goal is to build community, right? Like what I want to be able to do is learn together, grow together, discuss arguments. And the thing is, or you know, have conversations. The thing is, like, obviously, like here on the live, you know, I'm wanting to genuinely just like stick to the substance, have linear debates. In the Discord, we could have much more informal conversations, right? So just an opportunity for us to connect. You know, a lot of times, yes, good point, Bradley Cooper. You don't have to be an atheist to join the Discord. You don't have to agree with me on anything, honestly. There are definitely people in there who are not atheists, and I'm happy to have more. So don't feel that you couldn't join because you're an atheist or you're not an atheist. Of course, if you are an atheist, you're welcome as well. But yeah, like I said, the goal is to create community, learn together, grow together, those kinds of things. I would love to get to a point where we can do things like you know, like book clubs and read books together and stuff. That would be awesome. Then the other thing that I will mention quickly, if you join here on TikTok as a super fan, you will also get access to the members only area, which provides opportunity for maybe some more intimate conversations, more like, you know, direct one-on-one conversations. And then it also, I will supply my notes, my arguments, all that kind of stuff. Okay. Thanks for the reminder, Bradley Cooper. I appreciate you. I always forget that shit. I was literally thinking earlier today about how I keep forgetting that, and then I forgot it again. Lem, I want to make like stickers and I want to have like stickers and like emotes and whatever, but I don't know how to do that shit. So if there is anybody who knows how to do it and would be willing to do it at low cost, let me know. I want to have like emotes and stuff on, especially on here, but I don't know how to make those kinds of things, so I would need somebody who can do it and wouldn't, charge a ton to do it. Okay. No, I'm Ed, I'm not going to bring back somebody who I've already talked to. I don't like talking to the same people over and over again. All right. If you are in the guest queue or thinking about joining, well, Unknown Flows, hit me up. I'd be, hey, nothing more badass than being a fire-breathing dragon. Am I right? God, I don't know why these fucking animations are so fucking cool. Yeah, hit me up, Flows. Hit me up. Okay, well, I mean, I think I'm bringing you up anyway.
Good morning.
Hi, how old are you?
How are you? I'm 27.
Fantastic. And
yes, sir.
What God do you believe in?
So I believe in the God of the Bible, Jesus Christ, the
Perfect.
Trinity.
Cool. What would you say is the best argument or evidence that would give us rational justification to believe in God?
So I would say C.S. Lewis's argument, and by the way, let me just commend your politeness, because this is a very difficult conversation to have, and people get heated all the time, but thank you for remaining respectful. I would say C.S. Lewis's argument from Desire. So I saw this argument a few months ago, and it kind of made sense to me. And he basically says that every human desire has a kind of satisfaction within the physical space. So for example, if you desire hunger, there is food to eliminate that desire. If you desire sexual satisfaction, you could have smecks. If you desire to swim, there is water to satisfy that desire. Then the second premise is that human beings desire eternal joy and peace, which it seems that nothing within the physical realm can satisfy. Money, fame, or or lust, or whatever you want to think of. Nothing seems to be able to satisfy that. Then the final conclusion would be, it seems as though humans are created for an immaterial world where we can experience that eternal peace and joy outside of this world, since nothing in this world can satisfy it. So that is the argument.
Yeah, I just don't think that it has any force. I don't see any reason why I would be compelled to believe in a God as a result.
Fair enough, but would you agree that human beings desire eternal joy and peace?
No, I don't think that that's a thing that humans inherently desire. I think that that's a thing that we, for generations, have been told by our culture that is dominated by Christianity that we're supposed to desire, and so then we think we desire that. But I think if we really think about it, I don't think very many people would actually want to live forever. I don't think people really want that kind of thing.
Would you say most people would want to live forever? Would you say like the historical evidence would show that even outside of Christian cultures, most people would want to live forever in peace and joy?
I don't have any reason to think that that's the case, no. And even if it was the case, I don't see why that would have anything to do with a God existing. So let's assume that it is the case, and then help me understand how that gets us to a God.
Awesome. If we assume that it is the case, I would now argue that it does not support evolutionary biology for people to...
No, you're supposed to be saying how it gets us to God, not why you think it's something against evolution. Those are totally different conversations.
Okay, how it would get us to God is it would mean that there is an immaterial realm that the human being is designed for.
No.
And within that immaterial realm...
that's not it at all. No, that doesn't mean that at all.
So what
I understand that's your claim, but you need to support that claim.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is, what else would satisfy eternal joy?
Yep. So this is just an argument from ignorance. You're saying, I don't know what else it could be, or maybe it's an argument from incredulity. I don't know what else it could be, therefore it's God. But that's not actually an argument for God. That's a logical fallacy. So what I need you to do is not just appeal to a logical fallacy. I need you to actually give the argument. Like, explain to me how if this desire exists, Explain to me how, if this desire exists, it necessitates that it entails that God exists.
Awesome. So I would say evidences would be NDEs. You can look at the near-death experiences.
No, those are not evidence.
Why would you wouldn't take that into account? Why is that no evidence?
Many reasons.
What's the reason for that?
Yeah,
Why?
one of the reasons would be that NDEs are consistently reflective of the culture and the cultural and or religious background of the person having them. That's why Muslims always have Muslim NDEs, Christians always have Christian ones, Hindus always have Hindu ones. It's very common in every culture. And every culture it happens in, the people who have it have experience that's consistent with their cultural and religious beliefs already. So it's not any evidence, as far as I can tell, to believe in a God or anything like that. And then another reason is that we don't actually have any reason to think that anything of note happens during NDEs, because there have been a bunch of studies done. Specifically, the most well-known ones, I think, are the AWARE Project and AWARE Project 2, I think is what they're called, where they did a bunch of these... They set up all these like test conditions where in like emergency rooms and, places where people are likely to nearly die and be brought back. And they would do things like, putting things on top of the building, putting like face up playing cards on top of cabinets, doing those types of things, so that if someone actually did have an out of body or, near death experience where they thought that they could float above their body, those types of things that people claim to experience, then they would be able to say, I floated out of my body up to the ceiling and I could see that there was a 7 of clubs on top of that counter. Well, or on top of that cabinet. The problem is that never happens. Even though they've done all these experiments and they've done a lot of stuff like that to test to see if people actually could see things that they claim to be able to see, never once has there been a case where somebody actually demonstrated that they actually could see the thing that they claim to see.
But there are NDE. Would you refute the fact that there are NDE cases where people see things they're not meant to be able to see?
No, I'm saying that's specifically what I'm saying. That never happens. People say that happens, but has never actually happened.
From this project you're talking about, that has happened, because there are cases.
Okay,
where
when was it? When was it done under test conditions, so that it could be confirmed?
When you're saying test conditions, we can't. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, because you don't want it to actually be rigorous. You don't want it to actually be evidence, because that's what would have to happen for it to actually flows. That's what would have to happen for it to actually be evidence. You would have to have there would have to be control conditions where we know that we're not just relying on somebody's word.
Okay, hear me out. Would you apply this to your atheistic beliefs as well? Would you hold the same line of thinking consistent?
This is why I'm an atheist.
What's the repeatable evidence? Good. What's the repeatable evidence that everything comes from nothing?
I don't believe everything comes from nothing, so why in the world would I have evidence for that? Why would you expect me to have evidence for a position that I don't hold?
Okay, so what position do you hold? Sorry, let me start from there.
It doesn't matter what position I hold.
Because I'm trying to see if you have the consistent... Because I'm trying to see if you apply the same level of scrutiny to your beliefs.
Well, it doesn't matter whether you believe me or not about whether I apply the same level of scrutiny. I don't really care if you believe me or not. I know that I do, and that's enough for me.
No,
that's not what we're discussing here, right?
I do believe you, but...
Okay, Flows. I'm not attacking your character, and I would appreciate it if you don't spend this debate attacking my character. So what we're trying to discuss is the substance, not whether I'm intellectually consistent. So is there a reason to believe in God? Yes or no? Because as far as I can tell, the things that you've pointed to so far don't give us reasons to believe in God.
So I think that's where we just agree to disagree, because I feel like the human being's longing for joy and peace, which has been shown in many, psychological researches, would show that there is something outside of humanity that we are created for. And I would say that thing would be
That's
God.
just an assumption, though, Flows. You're just saying that because I think this thing, I think people feel this way, and I think that people have felt this way for a long time, I'm going to draw a conclusion from the way that I think people feel. But what you would need to be able to do...
No, it's not what I think. It's
okay,
what,
then
what
provide
the scientific research shows.
Yeah, what's the research?
So it's what the research shows.
What's the source?
So there's studies. Okay, give me a second. Let me see if I can pull up the study. There are studies that show that people consistently want eternal joy and peace.
That's fine.
Example,
that doesn't matter. What people want has nothing to do with what is true. So all I'm concerned with, I'm not concerned with what people want. Flows. Do you understand the difference?
But that's still evidence.
Do you think
what people want is still evidence?
No, it's not.
Why do you say so?
Because
Don't
I
you-
I
Isn't
want
the point of this?
I want
Mm.
I want $1 million to be deposited into my checking account tonight. Is that evidence that
that's
$1 million
evidence
will be
that-
deposited into my checking account tonight?
No, but
Right,
that's
because
evidence that
desires
you
are not
value-
evidence.
But you're not. That's not true. That's evidence that you value truth. That's a different kind of evidence.
No.
The evidence that you value
No,
wealth
saying
and prosperity.
desires-
Sorry, evidence that you value wealth.
Desires are
So
not
desires
evidence.
Are evidence.
Right, but desiring something doesn't mean that the thing exists.
Desiring something is evidence that your values. Desiring something is evidence that you value something, and if you value something, and we see in all prior conditions, your values are fulfilled within the physical space. Then, if you value something that's external to the physical space, that presupposes that there is an eternal reality.
No, I think that you're making a leap there, and you would need to justify it.
So, what evidence would be suitable for you? What evidence could I provide?
Anything that actually raises the probability of God existing. I haven't heard anything like that so far. All I've heard so far is just you claiming that desires provide evidence for something, but I have no reason to believe that's the case.
So, would you say if one of these NDEs are true, it shows that there is a eternal reality outside of what we can see right now?
No, absolutely
or
not.
Even at okay, so that's what I'm trying to understand. What evidence would be sufficient for you?
Something that would actually raise the probability of God existing.
Give me
If
an
you can-
example.
I mean, it depends on the God. But so far, all you've said is like, I'm just going to draw the conclusion that this means God exists, but you haven't given anything that would support that. Just saying.
But the thing is, I don't think there's any evidence I could give you that would be sufficient, because this is just
Well,
like
that's
when,
only true if there's no evidence for God.
No, not necessarily. There could
Yes.
be evidence for God, but none of them would fit your criteria. For example, there was
No, hold on, Flows. My criteria is evidence for God. So anything that is evidence for God fits my criteria. So if there is evidence for God, then obviously it fits the criteria that I'm looking for. And if there is evidence for God, then I'm just waiting for somebody to present it to me. As far as I can tell, though, there is no evidence for God.
But you're discounting all the evidence that we have. So if
No,
you
because it's
try
not
to-
actually evidence. Just saying that it's evidence doesn't make it evidence. That's like me saying that
Okay, first
because I don't know, any number of things. Because people desire eternal happiness, that and joy, that means that Eunice, the universe farting unicorn, is real because she's going to bring us into a land of sunshine and rainbows after we die. Does that mean that Eunice really exists?
That doesn't mean that Eunice exists.
Does Eunice actually exist because of these desires that you're pointing to?
No, Eunice doesn't exist.
Okay, well, so if you're saying that though people having those desires that would be consistent with Eunice existing doesn't actually give us evidence that Eunice exists, then that means it also doesn't give us evidence that the Christian God exists. There's no difference.
Would you look at the historical evidence of Jesus? Would you consider that the historical evidence of his crucifixion and resurrection outside of the Bible?
Well, there is no evidence of his resurrection outside the Bible. So
Josephus Flavius, Suetonius, Pliny
Nope.
the Younger,
Nope.
Basarapian, none of those.
no, none of those provide evidence that he resurrected. They may provide evidence that people believed he resurrected, but that's not evidence that he resurrected. Because you think that you would agree with me that when people believed that Zeus and Apollo and Athena were real, that didn't actually make them real, right?
Okay, yeah, that's a fair point. That didn't
Okay.
make them real, but
Right.
But the
So people
difference would be-
believing that Jesus rose from the dead doesn't make it true that Jesus rose from the dead, right?
Yeah, 100%. However,
Okay,
the
so
disciples
hold
did-
on,
did
Flows.
lose
I'm
their
making a
lives for
point.
it,
I'm
though.
making a point here. If we agree that people believing in a thing doesn't make the thing true, then we would also agree that evidence that people believed Jesus resurrected isn't evidence that Jesus actually resurrected.
But it increased the probability.
No,
of-
no, it doesn't.
of-
If it increased the
does,
probability, then it
does.
would be evidence.
Yes, that's
So
why
okay,
there's
so what you're
evidence.
saying is, if I believe that Eunice exists and truly did fart the universe out after eating a spicy hypotenuse, then that means that we now have evidence that Eunice really exists, right?
No, that increases the probability of
Yeah, so
Eunice existing.
yeah, if it increases the probability, then that's evidence. So you're saying that if I believe in Eunice, that's evidence Eunice exists, right?
No, I'm not saying
Okay.
that. So that increases the
all right.
probability.
Yes, okay,
that
but that's
Eunice
the
exists.
definition of evidence flows. Anything that increases the probability of a proposition is evidence for that proposition. So if my belief in Eunice increases the probability that Eunice is real, then that means that my belief in Eunice is evidence that Eunice is real. So, is my belief that Eunice exists evidence that Eunice is real?
Yes, it is weak evidence that Eunice is real. It is
Okay.
weak
Well,
evidence.
I take that as a reductio to your view, because if you're saying that people merely believing in a thing, especially something supernatural, is evidence for that thing, then I just don't think that there's anywhere we can go from there. Do you? So if you just
would you say there are gradations of evidence, or do you think all evidence is on the same level?
No, there's gradation, but what I'm saying is that if you think that simply believing a supernatural claim is evidence for that supernatural claim, then I would just take that as a reductio to your view. Obviously, your view is ridiculous, and we can all dismiss it.
Do you believe Alexander the Great existed?
No, I have no idea whether Alexander the Great was a real person.
Do you believe any historical figure existed?
Depends on your definition of historical figure.
Somebody who we only have historical writings about, like Plato and Aristotle, but we don't have like any, I don't know, like physical evidence.
No, I haven't.
Skeletons.
Yeah, I haven't looked into. I'm not really a history guy, so I haven't really put a lot of evidence or a lot of effort into finding evidence for those historical figures because I don't really care whether they existed or not. So no, I don't have strong positions on their existence, for or against.
But would you say historical evidence is worth looking into? Like it's a
not for supernatural claims, no.
Why not?
Because historical evidence could never prove a supernatural claim. Because the only thing that we can, because by definition, things like, miracles, resurrections, faith healing, whatever, those are unlikely things to happen. And all historical evidence can ever confirm is what's likely to happen. So if we have a purported event that is unlikely to happen, so for example, God coming down to earth as a human and sacrificing himself to himself and then rising from the dead, that's an extremely unlikely thing to happen. I'm sure you think that only happened once in history, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Since that only ever happened once, then that's the kind of thing historical evidence could never, ever provide evidence for. Because historical evidence can only provide evidence for what is most likely to happen. That's an extremely unlikely thing to happen. So no, historical evidence can't provide historical data cannot provide evidence for that kind of thing. But
would you say that would you say the Big Bang is extremely unlikely?
No.
Why?
Because we have physical evidence that it happened. Right? We have the cosmic microwave background radiation.
Okay, all right, fair enough. But there are atheists who argue that the universe is still eternal.
Yeah, I know, and that's consistent with the Big Bang. Yep, that's consistent with the Big Bang.
Wait, the cosmic microwave background theory is consistent with an eternal universe? Explain that to me.
Because all the cosmic microwave background radiation shows us is that the Big Bang happened, and the Big Bang happening has nothing to do with whether the universe began to exist. So,
but
yes.
Wouldn't you say like if there's variation in the energy within the universe, that would go against the universe being eternal? Because if it's eternal,
no, you're trying to talk about entropy.
And...
No, you're trying to talk about entropy. Yeah. If we live in like a big bounce, big crunch model, then entropy would reset.
How?
In the big crunch.
So you're saying it's cyclical?
It could be, yeah. That's an open possibility. I don't know if that's the case, and I don't take a position on whether that's the case, but it certainly seems to be an open possibility.
Wouldn't that be like a perpetual motion machine?
No.
So where is this excess energy coming from for like the crunch and the bounces?
I don't know what you mean excess energy.
Like because I'm saying, let's say the system dilutes in terms of how much energy there is in the universe, and
why would it dilute?
Crunch that is because everything runs down. Energy.
No, it doesn't run down. No, what I'm saying is that it doesn't run down. Because of the law of conservation of energy, we know that in any closed system, energy is going to stay the same. The same amount of energy will exist no matter how much time passes. What you're trying to say is that things would.
Do you believe in the
What you're trying to say is
And the
that
law
things
of
would tend
entropy.
toward a higher level of entropy, which would mean
Yes.
that energy would be scattered and unable to do any work. But that would mean that there would be
Yes.
less energy. So even if that happened, even if the universe got to a point like that, if it then subsequently crunched in due to gravity, and that entropy would reset.
But don't you think that requires energy?
Nope.
For it to crunch in due to
Nope.
gravity?
No, that doesn't require energy.
So is there any evidence for this thing? Is this like a theory, or is there any evidence for this?
Yep. Yeah, we
This
recently
quantum
got
model?
data from the DESI instrument, dark energy spectroscopy instrument, I think is what it's called, and the recent data from that suggests that the acceleration of the expansion of the universe is slowing down, and if that's accurate, then that means that it's very likely, if that's the case, that the acceleration would stop, then the expansion would stop, and then everything would collapse back in. There doesn't need to be any added energy to the system in order for that to happen.
You know what? That's a fair point. I will need to look into that.
Okay.
That's a fair point.
Yeah,
Thank
and like
you
I
for
said,
that. I appreciate that.
not a problem. And like I said, I'm not taking the position that there's definitely a cyclical universe. I know that there are some atheists on here who hold that position. I'm just saying that it seems to be an open possibility, and if we have to say that the universe began in order for God to exist, then we can't have reason to believe in God until we have confirmed that the universe actually did begin to exist. Since we haven't confirmed that yet, it's unreasonable to believe in a God.
But would you say because Aristotle also believed in an eternal universe, but he also believed in some sort of God who he called the unmoved mover. So perhaps there is a perspective where you can still believe the universe is eternal, but for any useful energy to exist, you would still need some kind of unmoved mover that exists co-eternally with the universe.
No, because if that mover brought the universe into existence, then that means that it exists in a state of existence without time. Any state of existence without time is also not going to have any change. So it wouldn't have been able to go from not bringing the universe into existence to the state of bringing the universe into existence. So it wouldn't have been able to create the universe. So then the only option is that it was just always bringing the universe into existence, which just means that the universe never began, which means it wasn't created, which means it doesn't have a creator, and we have no need to explain the first movement because everything would have just always been moving.
Yeah, but Aristotle's claim wouldn't be that the creator brought the universe into existence. Would be that he organized the energy within
That's
the
fine,
universe.
but that's not a God then. Because a God, as I'm defining it, as we're discussing here, would be the personal ultimate foundation to reality that, that did create the universe. If we're talking about a thing that didn't create the universe, then as far as I can tell, we may as well just be talking about some kind of natural force. And I don't see any reason why we should imbue or ascribe, any other characteristics to it besides, if that kind of thing does exist, then I don't see why we should add qualities to it like having a mind or having will or having desires or interacting with its creation. I think even the word creation would be a misnomer at that point. Like, I don't see any reason why we should think that thing is a God, even if we did show that it existed.
But don't you think to organize energy in such a way as we see it today, where we see so many patterns within nature, would require some level of intelligence?
Absolutely not. No. And if it did, if having that level of organization in the universe required intelligence, then the level of organization that a being would have to have in order to instantiate that would also require it to be created by an intelligence, which means now you've created an infinite regress of creators creating creators.
No, not necessarily.
Yes,
We can
necessarily.
assume
Yes.
that
If the principle is any order and patterns requires an intelligent creator, and we would know that any intelligent creator capable of creating this universe would have order and patterns in its thoughts, in its mind, in its essence, that means that it would also have to have been created by an intelligent creator, which means that that thing would also have to have been created by an intelligent creator, and then that would just go on infinitely.
I don't think that's necessarily true.
I think
do
it
see your
definitely
logic,
follows.
though,
It definitely follows from what you're saying. Yes.
It follows, but just because it follows doesn't mean it's true. It does logically follow, but that doesn't
Okay, well,
mean
that's
it's
what
true.
it means to logically follow. If
No, not everything that logically follows is
yes,
true.
if B logically follows from A, and you think A is true, then you're committed to the position that B is also true. So if you're committed to the position that there had to be some intelligence to create the order and patterns in the universe, and it follows from that that creator must have also had a creator, then you are committed to the position that that creator had a creator and the infinite regress that spawns from it.
Would you say that it's possible for something that's not intuitive to us to be true? We just don't understand it intuitively.
Yeah, I think that there's a big difference, though, between something that's unintuitive versus something that's logically impossible. You're talking about something that's logically impossible, which is very different from saying something is intuitive or unintuitive.
So can something that is logically that logically follows be false?
Only if the thing that it follows from is false.
Yes, exactly. So, for example, you can
so
say
what you're
all
saying
dogs can
is,
fly.
well, so the thing that has to be false in this example is that the universe must have been created because of all the order and patterns. That's the thing that has to be false in order for you not to end up with the infinite regress of creators creating creators. So as long as you say that it's false, that the order and patterns of the universe require an intelligent creator, then you're fine. But then that gets rid of your argument for God.
What's the second premise? Because that's one of the premises, that the universe being created in order would require an intelligence. What was the second premise?
Yeah, it would be anything that has at least as much order as the universe must have been created by an intelligent creator. Any intelligent creator that could create the order in the universe must have at least as much order in itself. Any intelligent creator that could create the order. Oh my God, I can't spell. Order in the universe must have been created by an intelligent creator. And then you're just going to repeat a version of the second premise in C ad infinitum. And then you're just going to end with an infinite regress. You're going to end up with an infinite regress of creators creating creators.
But wouldn't you say this is kind of like the arguments where they say, in order for you to get from point A to point B, you must traverse half of the distance between A and B.
You talking about
for
the
you to
Zeno?
traverse half the distance between A and B.
Yeah, you're talking about
like
Zeno's
Zeno's
infinities.
paradox. Yes. So
What
wouldn't
about
you
it?
say that's like a similar argument to
No.
like this argument you just made?
Nope.
What's the difference?
Everything. There's no similarity. I'm not talking about traveling distances.
Because Zeno's paradox also makes logical sense, but it's false.
No, it's not false.
Because we don't have like actual infinity stopping us from moving from A to B.
No, what it means is to move from A to B, anytime you do move from A to B, you have to cross infinite points in space. So if my hands are this far apart, right? My hands are this far apart. There are infinite subdivisions of going halfway and then halfway and then halfway and halfway and halfway and halfway until they touch. But the fact that I can bring them together and make them touch means that my hands are traversing infinite points in space. So that is, it does follow, and it does show that actual infinites can be instantiated. Extensive infinities.
But what if there's a smallest unit of distance? Would that still be an infinity?
Well, you would have to demonstrate that that space is discrete in that way.
Interesting. All right. Well, thank you for the conversation. Let me let other people come up and speak.
Well, I'll
message you about the stuff.
Yeah, please do. I would appreciate that. If you're able to join the Discord, that would make it easier too. If not, no worries. But yeah, just shoot me a message, and I'd be happy to work with you. But I'm actually gonna. Thank you as well. I was gonna end the live 15 minutes ago, but we were having a good conversation, so I'm gonna go ahead and
enjoyed it.
And now I appreciate you, and I guess I'll talk to you soon, and I hope that you have a good one.
Yeah, may the universe bless you.
All right. Take care.
All right, bye.
Well, hey, we actually did get to have some good conversations. I fucked this up. That was argument from desire. And then cosmology, I don't know. Good faith. Okay, anyway, as I was telling Flows, I am going to go ahead and end the live. I appreciate everybody. Geez, over 2.5 hours tonight. Okay, well, typically I don't do more than 2, so I'll call that good enough. But I appreciate everybody. Thank you so much, everybody, for, oh shit, I should call out Philo Dragon, Salma, Anna, what is this, Metabrolic? I don't know, Lem, Soldier, Instatom, Lupine, Discordant Rhyme, what is this, Flows, Lem, Denisan, Grandpa Books. Thank you everybody so much for the support, for all the taps and the shares and everything. Yeah, I am so sorry to disappoint you, but yeah, I am going to get heading out. And as I say at the end of all my streams, remember, tomorrow is not guaranteed. You don't know how many opportunities you have left to let your family and friends know how much they mean to you. So take every one of those opportunities